Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to our final night of coverage of the Democrat National Convention from Chicago, Illinois. I am joined by my co-host, Ruben Christopher Haynes. And if you notice that we are dressed a little bit differently than usual, let us explain. Number one, it is our general understanding that communists like the color red. And secondly, given that that Kamala is being nominated tonight, I thought my Pimp Daddy outfit might be the most appropriate thing I could possibly wear. We are on Rumble, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, so apologies for being late, but I will explain momentarily. I will explain momentarily why I'm running a few moments late, but I think my audience, you will give me some understanding on this. Anyway, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So if you would not mind, please share the link far and wide. Tell your friends to get in here. This is going to be a very interesting evening. I can say that much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be joined a little bit later by Darius Simpson from Real Talk with Darius. He has channels on Rumble and YouTube. We'll also be joined by the Professor. Christian Watson will be here tonight. Tracy Barkley from Keto on Crime was going to be joining us, but unfortunately she had a family emergency come up, and I understand completely. So no shade on her. She's a wonderful lady. Anyway, we are here, and we are basically here to watch what may be one of the most interesting nights of the Democrat National Convention, as they've all been interesting so far to one form or another. But tonight is the night when Kamala receives that which she has chased for going on 5 years now, the nomination of her party to seek the presidency of the United States. We're going to look live now on the stage. Senator Elizabeth Warren is leaving, thank God. Lyle Watha has just exited the stage. And someone's yelling into a microphone, which, for reasons we have no idea why. Oh,
I'm thinking.
So there you go. Anyway, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, and I promise you, I will get around to explaining the delays and what's happened and all that good stuff, and also saying hello to everybody. And but right now we're just taking it all in, as the Democrats are. They're taking in their reds, their whites, their blushes, their rosés. Oh, that's Kamala. I'm sorry. But yeah, what are you shaking your head for? You know I'm right.
No, I'm looking at them dancing right now like idiots.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't you know this is the Convention of Joy, my friend? The Convention of Joy.
Oh my God.
Anyway. All right, let us step away from this nonsense. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I need to give you my apologies as the host and kind of explain why we are not our normally punctual self for the start of this event. Your host got into a car accident this evening. I'm fine. I'm here. And as the old saying goes, the show must go on. Now, basically what happened was I was driving on a local interstate here in my area. A gentleman slowed down in front of me. I slowed down to try to avoid hitting him. There was a semi-tractor trailer behind me who was carrying 40,000 pounds on their payload, and they couldn't slow down fast enough. They hit the back end of my car, which caromed me over into the left lane, and I hit a Ford F-150 truck. Car, believe it or not, is drivable. The car is drivable.
Damn.
So we did all the normal pleasantries of talking to the local police department, filling out reports, all that good stuff. And, I was running some errands for a family member. So we got all that taken care of. But being delayed by about a good 45 minutes dealing with car issues was a bit of a pain in the tuchus, as you might imagine. So that's why we're running a little bit late. I boogied down the road from my relative's house. Now I'm here. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. But stuff happens. Oh, the damage was quite good. It looked like I've been racing at Bristol Motor Speedway on a Saturday night. A lot of bumping and banging, baby, let me tell you.
Tomorrow before you go anywhere, you want to make sure there's nothing leaking or anything.
As far as I can tell, it's fine. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Anyway, is my vehicle drivable? Yes, ma'am. It is very drivable. Uh, Doing very well for that part. Let's see who's up on stage right now. Yeah, there's all kinds of rumors flying around about this evening's Democrat National Convention. Um,
Oh,
for sure, we know that Kamala Harris will be will be speaking as the final speaker of the night. And frankly, given the 3 days that how this convention has gone, we're glad she's the last speaker. So Ruben, while I'm pulling up some more stuff, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, rules still apply. If you have memes, articles of interest you want us to look at and comment on, we're going to be here for the duration. So please feel free to tag all of us in tag us at Twitter, tag us at other places. We'll put them up there, be it a funny meme or a news article you find that we really ought to talk about. We want this process to be as fun and interactive. And before we even start the evening in real earnest, I want to thank everybody in the audience who has been with us for these 4 nights. You guys have been absolutely incredible. I cannot thank you enough, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of Ruben, Christian, Darius, Daniel De La Fay, everybody involved. You guys have been absolutely amazing. You are truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you are the best audience on the internet. Hands down. We are very much like Shakespeare's line from Taming of the Shrew. Though we are tiny, we are fierce. So you guys are nothing short of amazing. And I have to also thank my co-hosts, Ruben, Christian, Darius, Daniel, everybody involved. You guys, I'm serious about this. You guys have been wonderful, and I cannot thank you enough. I really can't. So like I say, if you've got memes, news articles, what have you, feel free to share them. We've got some updated information, or at least I've got updated information as it relates to the RFK story that's been running for the past 3 days. And, while I'm pulling some of that up, let's see who all's here in chat. Shy, good evening, my dear. Good evening. Hello, how are you? Let's see who else is here in the house. M169, we's glad to see you. Good evening, Tiny Tesla. Working hard tonight, sister. I know how that goes. I know how that goes. Ruben, look at this.
oh, thank you.
Anyway, little Marvin Gaye going through the back of my head on that one. I tell you. Let's see. I had my red barf bin ready. Okay, that's probably a good idea. Yeah. That's probably a very good idea. Let's see who else is here. Midmo, glad to see you. Glad to see you. And Miss Up in Connecticut, we's glad to see you as always. Gypsy's in the house. The Pelosi Coke drop? No, I have not seen this yet. Oh, goodness. This could get interesting. Toss it. If you can find it fast, toss it to me. If not, I'll see if I can dig around for it myself. But, Miss Leah's in the house tonight. Well, it's like I said earlier. Communists love the color red. And given Kamala's past histories, I thought the pimp daddy look might be the most appropriate thing I could do tonight. So, I'm just saying. Jonathan Craddock is in the house. Jonathan, glad to see you, sir. All right. Who's over on Rumble? Are the Wingnuts here? Okay. Are the Wingnuts in the house? Let's see. Hang on.
Yeah, but they're basically alluding to is the fact that when she went up to the speech, something white.
Then I do know what you're talking about. That's
what I think she's talking about, right?
Oh, I believe you're right. Yes, I think that's exactly what you're talking about. So, yeah, I'm.
Well, did Hunter pick it up? And we know.
Well, I think it was vacuumed up, but I don't think it was a Hoover that did the sucking. I'm just saying. As a matter of fact, there may have been multiple suckers trying to vacuum that stuff up, but I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, they're watching a video currently. Oh my, this should be very interesting. There's all kinds of rumors. I apologize. We know, as I said, that Kamala Harris will be speaking this evening. as the final speaker of the night. And among other notables, and I'm trying to find a list of speakers right now, so I apologize. Just looking around real quick. Yeah, tell you what, we left off last night noting something that that was very, very weird. That Kamala Harris wasn't in the hall last night. For that matter, she wasn't in the hall for the past 2 nights. She was there for the first night. That's it.
Yep.
Nothing else. And I find that very, very strange. Maybe it's nothing more than
sober her up.
Yeah, it could be. Hell, who knows? But yeah, we're going to keep an eye. Currently, U.S. Representative Elise Slotkin from Michigan is up at the stage, and we're going to see who else will be here tonight. I'm looking. Go ahead.
Well, adrenochrome takes 74 hours to take effect.
Okay. All right. And okay, and we do. And Gypsy has just sent over the Pelosi cocaine drop story. Give me a second here, and I will pop this up on screen.
That'll be funny.
Give me 1 second here, because I had seen this, and I have no idea what the heck this was when I first saw it. I was like, huh? This is just plain weird. Well, then again, everything about the Democrat convention this year has been weird.
Yeah, but the thing is that I take it that I was black-pilled on January 6th because everything basically locked. Everything came into focus that day.
Yeah.
Everything that all the things that I had known for my entire life came into focus. And it really was, wow, they really did kill JFK. They really did start the Vietnam War, and they murdered these men that went over there. Which is true. Agent Orange and all that stuff, and they brought it back, and it's like they really are poisoning, Americans. They really want the black community to be disrupted.
Yeah.
But by they did it back in the 60s, and they made the welfare state, and then they did it when they put the booze on every corner in the black cities, when they really did go treated cocaine and crack differently. Basically the system is designed. Systemic racism from that perspective, you say, yeah, it's true what they're doing it to everybody. They're racist to everybody. They want to divide everybody. That's your systemic racism. If you want to basically say it, they're trying to pit every race against each other. Period. That's systemic racism. We can agree on that, can we?
Mm-hmm.
Again, MAGA is not about Trump. It never was. In my opinion, it was about us signing up and saying no more of this crap, And then we're seeing the epitome of clown world, and we see it now. We see what they're doing here politically. It's like a bad sequel. It's like a bad sequel.
Absolutely.
Talking about joy, like and freedom, and then they're just spitting out words. Slogans. It's nothing, no substance.
Oh yeah,
it's hollow.
It's just amazing to me. I just found the list of speakers for the evening. Currently up on stage is Pat Ryan, who's a Democrat from New York State. The Reverend Al Sharpton will be following him. Oh yeah. Then we're going to have a little bit later in the evening. Let's see. Oh God, this is like a who's who here, man. We got some Illinois flavor. Lisa Madigan, the former Attorney General for the state of Illinois, is going to be here tonight. Yeah.
Madigans are there. They're corrupt. They run Illinois.
Man.
They run Illinois.
Okay, for those of you not familiar with Illinois politics, the Madigan family is probably, and more particularly, the legendary Michael Madigan.
Crime.
It is one of the dirtiest but most ruthlessly effective players that's ever gotten into the political game. This guy got elected back in, I think, 1974 to the Illinois House, became Speaker by 1982, and with the exception of one term, from 95 to 96, that man was Speaker of the Illinois House.
Yep.
and his word was law. I mean, you didn't run anything through the state of Illinois, but what you didn't go through Mike Madigan doing it. So, and his now I can't tell you that much about his daughter. I mean, Lisa's probably a typical Chicago Democrat,
Yep.
but yeah, this is going to be real interesting. Let's see who else is on the agenda for the evening.
It's basically it's like, I don't know. It's essentially how does it encapsulate it? Bill Clinton last night, how he was. It was a shell of who he was, and it
God, yeah.
it proved that everything was a show.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And so the real power, like what the real power of like the Bush administration was Cheney and all of the CIA stuff, and both administrations. So that's why I am just come out as a globalist. You fuck if Bush is here.
And that is being rumored that W might be speaking tonight.
Yeah, if he is, then anybody else knows that. Then anybody that went to Iraq and Afghanistan, based upon that, they knew where he was. They did it because again, it's a war machine going on, and I'm done with this shit. They're spending too much money on this war shit. They want war now because it's going to shut up us because they can initiate the lockdown of the internet, national security. We are too powerful, just us little people. I don't want power. I want to be left alone. It pisses me off because again, 2019, it was so weird. I was watching surreal. I was just living my life. I had, I was still recovering from my illness and my wife had passed away. And, I just basically said, you know what, I'm going to watch a movie and just enjoy life. And I did. Endgame. And then I went home and that was about it. And then things started going wrong, and and then I basically saw these companies where all the people were being, all the CEOs were quitting, and they came back, and I said, "Shit, something big's going to happen." And then I started lining up. And then 2020, and then with the election, it's just getting worse. And then January 6th, it just everything lined up. I said, "Oh shit. It's done." So that's why I said, get the hell out.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, there's going to be a whole list of, I'm trying to jot down quickly. I mean, they have got way too many speakers for this convention, and the Republicans were just as guilty of this. But I mean, if this schedule of speakers is still right on track for what it should be, they've got way too many people. Way too many.
Just a lot of stupid people. Stupid
well,
things?
I mean, I'll just give you an example here. After the Reverend Al Sharpton, you have just listen to this list: the Honorable Yusuf Salam, Corey Wise, Raymond Santana, Kevin Richardson, Amy Reisner, Carrie Delaney, Lisa Madigan, Mark Morrell, Nathan Horns. Here comes the Reverend. This should be interesting.
Oh shit! I want to hear this.
All right. Well, yeah, but I want to hear this now, folks. Give me a sound check. Let me know if everything's okay on this. All right. And here we go.
Thank you. Good evening. I stand before you as the president of National Action Network. We do not endorse candidates, but we report where candidates stand on criminal justice, economic empowerment, health equity, and other issues. On one side of this race is Donald Trump, a fellow New Yorker I've known for 40 years. Only once in that time did he take a position on racial issues. He spent a small fortune on full-page ads calling for the execution of 5 innocent young teenagers. Well, I'm gonna bring them out in a minute, and you'll hear from them tonight. Because they were not executed, they're here to continue to fight. But it was there that I saw Trump love to fan racial flames. On the other side is a woman that I've walked with in Selma, Alabama to commemorate the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Kamala Harris spoke to me that day about unity and passing bills. All I ever heard from Donald Trump was how he can get an advantage. I see one candidate who wants to protect the right to vote while the other has tried to cook up 11,000 votes in Georgia.
Unbelievable. Here we go.
I see a candidate who, with Joe Biden, brought leaders to the White House to confront violent hatred, running against a man who said neo-Nazis in Charlottesville were fine people.
That's a lie.
That's a lie, River.
I see a candidate who has sought to reform and uphold the law, and a man who wrongly assumes his mugshot appeals to Black Americans. I worked with Kamala Harris in every job she's had.
Kamala? He's racist?
To making government work.
I guess so.
For those of us who've been disadvantaged. All Donald Trump has been consistent about is making himself richer and sowing division to get that done. This man sat right here in Chicago a few weeks ago, refusing to apologize for claims that migrants were taking Black jobs. Well, in November, we're going to show him when Blacks do their job.
And the thing is, the St. Louis Federal Reserve issues a report. Most of the jobs that have been made have been given to people who are non-American citizens.
And we are going to join with whites and browns and Asians, and we're going to do a job on those that have done a job on us. Tonight, we are going to realize Shirley Chisholm's dream. "52 years ago, I was one of the youth directors in her campaign for president. And 52 years after she was told to sit down, I know she's watching us tonight as a Black woman stands up to accept the nomination for President of the United States. We have fought too hard for women to be told to get out of the kitchen. We are now on our way to the Oval Office. We won't go back.
Go back where?
Did he screw up?
We fought hard. We fought hard for LGBTQ loved ones to get out the closet. We won't go back.
Who's making you?
We're
not.
Oh my God.
We fought hard for the right to choose, the right to education. We suffered and died and bled, went to jail to get the right to vote. We won't go back.
Unbelievable.
What a platform.
Yeah, what a platform. Hate Donald Trump. We won't go back. Can't figure out what it is we won't go back to.
So we...
Well, according to him, that we want to take the vote away from Black people. I'm going, what the hell? No, we don't.
No matter what the amount of money they have, we are here because others fought and suffered for us, and we vow tonight we won't go back.
Yes, you're terrible. You're terrible. And people just
This
clap.
November,
I
we
might
will
be
go
drinking before
forward
this night is over with.
to
I don't know.
fulfill
Swear I
promise
might be.
of a just and fair nation.
It'd help my.
And let me
it would help
say,
my
as
car
we
wreck blues.
transition,
Okay.
Southern blacks and northern blacks are totally
in
different.
Psalms it says,
mentally.
we've been
This
made
guy's a
endure for night.
northerner. Hell,
Joy comes
see-
in the morning.
no,
Who?
no chill, no chill.
I feel ya.
January 6th, we've
feel ya.
enjoyed conspiracy theories. We've endured lies and areas of darkness. But if we stay together, black, white, Latina, Asian, Indian American, if we stay together, joy, joy, joy.
Oh
joy
gosh.
coming in the morning.
Hi-ya! Gosh, I swear, gosh. This is like an SNL skit.
So
Yeah,
now,
man. A bad
since I
one,
was
too.
a teenager,
Mhm.
I was mentored by Reverend Jesse Jackson. And Reverend Jackson taught us to fight for what's right. And now I want to bring out some young men that I fought for. I referred to them then. They were known as the Central Park Five. Now they are the exonerated five. Raymond Santana, Kevin Richardson, Yusef Salam, Corey Weiss, the exonerated five.
Okay, we're gonna duck out for a second and
Yeah,
say
yeah.
hello to somebody way more important than Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yes.
Darius
exactly.
Simpson from Real Talk is here with us. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, gentlemen. How you guys doing? It's good to be back.
We're enraptured by the joy. That's all I'm saying. Just
Ugh.
enraptured by the joy. I
No,
just
I'm
feel
glad-
thrilled.
I'm glad to have sane people to talk to and going,
Amen.
what's
Yeah.
going on here? No, I'm
Yeah, I'm-
serious. I'm at the point now. I'm sorry. I'm at the point now going, what?
Yeah, I feel we have thrills going up our legs. We have just all over. I'm about ready to break out into a cacklegasm. That's all I can say, man. I'm just telling you.
Don't do it.
It's insane.
That's the virus. It's like everyone starts laughing. It's I think we should do a little horror film. Everyone starts laughing. It's like, come on, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. You know, I put up a short video from a clip I saw the other day. Put it up earlier today on my channel. Just 30 seconds of it of somebody did a compilation of cackling Kamala Harris. It's just insane. Her laugh.
Because again,
Yes.
well, I found out. I don't know. This is but not breaking news. What is
Yes.
breaking news per se? Did you hear about the fact that they've been over fluoridating water?
They mean what?
Over fluoridating it, and
What's that?
basically fluorination of water. They do that they just started doing that to help with people's teeth, and
Okay.
that's why don't drink tap water, drink spring water, and it lowers IQ. And this is not breaking news. I knew this already. Fluoride's bad for you, whatever. But now that's
Right. Yeah, I got you now.
news. But I'm wondering why, because again, there's a lot of things coming out regarding, the jab and stuff like that. Just look it up. It's going on. It's breaking right now. So everything's breaking at the same time. So we're at a tipping point. I don't know. We got the announcement of RFK on Friday, maybe. There's an event.
And I'm glad you said maybe, because I want to go to Jack Posobiec's tweet.
Correct.
The editor of Human Events. They're apparent, and again, take it for what it's worth, but Poso is very good with his sources, that there is apparently an internal fight going on inside the RFK campaign. Let me see if I can get my hands on this real fast, because
give him what he wants.
Poso tweets like a son of a gun. Yeah, hang on. I'm still looking. Keep talking, fellas.
No, I'm just saying whatever RFK wants, give it to him. And because again, he'll get the protection immediately as being somebody on the staff of the president. Because again, right now he doesn't have it.
Well, and I thought they gave it to him after Trump's failed assassination to tip out.
I don't think Trump. They did, but maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, they did they gave RFK Jr. Secret Service protection after Butler.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
But still, he's still. I mean, obviously, I still would say he needs protection, especially if he actually does side with the Trump administration. I don't know if you guys have already heard yet today. And I said it to you earlier, Brian. Alex Jones was again talking about some of the things he had predicted would happen, which is there is going to be another assassination attempt. Matter of fact, when Trump went out to the border today, before then, there was some guy, it was a manhunt.
Yes.
Undergoing, trying to find this guy who threatened to assassinate Trump at the border today.
Yeah. But they're going to frame it on Iran.
Exactly. That's important because I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I said, I'll let you get to it, Brian. Another friend of mine, he was like, you have to really think outside. We was talking about you have to really think outside the box. He did. He said, I didn't think of it. I didn't either. To me, it's like with the Putin situation. Iran are full of bad characters. They want to destroy America. They want to destroy Israel. But could it also be that factions in our government, 3-letter agencies, want to use Iran as a blackmail, not blackmail, but frame them?
The patsy.
Yeah, exactly.
Use
So
them
I
as
was like,
the patsy.
wow. I mean, this is crazy.
Well, and honestly, I heard I was listening to Alex earlier this afternoon while I was doing some work out in my yard. But there is no what do the Iranians gain by getting rid of Trump? They're right on the verge of getting the bomb.
Right.
There's probably little to nothing that he could do to stop that at this stage. You might slow him down, but the Iranians are going to get it. They know they're going to get it.
Right.
And it ought to scare everybody in the region to death, but the reality is it's not.
But then I'll play devil's advocate, Brian. What if there's somebody that in the administration right now says, yes, so then they are going to have the bomb. So we have to do this we have to set this up to happen. So make it happen that we pitted Iran, we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Someone's thinking that scenario.
I wouldn't disagree. I mean, because this is really, there's a lot of chess pieces being moves being made.
That's the thing. It's a real Game of Thrones going on. There are rogue actors going on there and real actors. When you think about it, basically doing things, setting up things, being, shit. You think the rumor is Taylor Swift will be going to be here today too. And Taylor Swift and that football guy, that was a setup because you get, people to do stuff. It's all set up. It's all, they orchestrated. It's all orchestrated. We think about like the pageantry of a royal wedding. Then no, we have all this stuff going on here, and it's all forced down to keep you numb to what's really going on. It's sad. I just want to basically let the peace because there's a lot of good we could be doing. We could have a global effort to have everything go nuclear immediately. We have the technology to utilize it as oil. We can use it to make it. There's no waste. We can utilize the waste, and even that can be done. It's being done already, but we're not doing it because the people are afraid of it because you have the activists that think it's bad. And the power companies that don't want to utilize it because they want to control everything. So it's just dumb. I'm just sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is the globalists. They are on full, I would say nearly, I won't say full display. I would call it full display if they really just came right out and told us to our face, yes, what we want is world domination. We want to depopulate the earth. We want to destroy the food. We want to go and squeeze everybody. And we want to got everybody into certain regions of the planet. And we want to just control everything. That will be, to me, them coming right out the bag. But other than that, they're just showing us.
But
hang on. We're looking at the stage real quick. A number of Democrat leaders giving joint remarks on the idea of a just society. We're looking currently at Amy Resner, a former prosecutor and friend of Vice President Kamala Harris, Carrie Delaney, director of federal affairs at the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and also herself a former state attorney general. Momentarily, Lisa Madigan, the former attorney general for Illinois, will be speaking. And Mark Morial, the president for the National Urban League. Just wanted to keep everybody abreast of what's going on, gentlemen. I mean, to me, the Iranians have nothing to gain by this. I feel like they're being played for the patsy.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I did. Now to go to something that Jack Posobiec, and I'm bringing this to everybody's attention. According to Posobiec, there are sources. He's got a source inside the RFK campaign. RFK Jr. has not decided on what he wants to do here. There's an internal struggle. Apparently, his vice presidential nominee, Nicole Shanahan, is urging him to join forces with Trump. RFK Jr.'s wife, Cheryl Hines, is just urging him to drop off the ballot in swing states and do not endorse. Now, this is from Posobiec. Take it for what it's worth. I don't know where this is going yet. So, there's, but
well,
go ahead.
Well, I think that basically Cheryl is basically saying, don't just endorse him, get something out of it. And if he basically says, and he will be my attorney general, it's going to shock the world.
Agreed.
So that is what that sounds like. Again, the running mate says one thing to endorse. She says, she didn't say not to endorse. She says just drop out. So again, and I think it's putting out there's a trial balloon, and basically I bet you the feed will be like RFK for CIA director or something like that. Make him, put him on the team right away. And Trump's not a dummy. They're going to see that and going, okay, the people want you. That's important. And it's all done through a poll. Because again, Trump and Elon, he can ask Elon, hey Elon, I want to know, can you just give me the data? Can you let me know what's going on? Again, Trump and him got it now. So Trump's going to if they're not doing this, then they really are dumb to do this, to utilize that data.
Again, I would be very surprised if conversations are not happening back channel. Do I think that Trump's picking up the phone and calling RFK or vice versa? I don't know, but I got a feeling consiglieres on both sides are talking to each other, and well, they should, because I found something earlier today from the inestimable Richard Barris, and people. I mean, there are people on the Democrat side who are trying to say, well, if RFK does get out of this race and endorses Trump, it doesn't make that big of a difference. Yada yada yada. Well, not so much, because Barris has a poll in the field right now, and the results that he's and he did this, the way he's conducted the poll is fairly interesting. Let me find it here real fast. Yeah, here's the tweet, and it's a 3-parter, but it's worth every bit of it. The worst, the weatherman election mafia are now claiming RFK's support is not significant. These people are so full of beep, it's actually disgusting. 5% nationally, which is what RFK Jr. is getting, okay? 5% nationally is, of course, the definition of statistical significance in this race, and state impact is even bigger. By that, Barris is referring to the following. Take the state of Pennsylvania, where Harris leads in the RCP average in a 6-way race by 2 points, and Trump leads on the head-to-head. Kennedy's share of the Pennsylvania vote is literally larger than either candidate's lead in the state, and Trump benefits from his exit is self-evident, unless, of course, you're mentally challenged. Rich is always tart-tongued in some cases. Kennedy's share of the vote is larger than most individual sampling errors and the leader's edge. One of these guys is the same dude who fawned over Stein, costing Clinton several states. Just wish for one cycle this industry would be more honest and less hackish. Just one cycle. So, yeah, I mean, the argument that says that RFK Jr. does not have impact if he gets out and endorses Trump is just plain crazy.
Because again, here's the reason why, and I go back to what my statement is. There are a good majority of Americans that are black-pilled, 100% black-pilled. If you make him a CIA director or attorney general in some capacity to unlock everything, and he will do it, then those people who have said, yeah, we want the truth, will come out of the woodwork. And that is your independents and people that followed Kennedy and so many others, even people from the Green Party, Jill Stein's party. that again, there's rumors going on around. There's some talk about going on because I'm following her tweets as well. So this could be a coalition because again, if you have Tulsi Gabbard, you have Ben Carson, you've got who else? People talking.
Vivek Ramaswamy,
Vivek, RFK, and even other ones that whoever spoke. I can't remember who spoke at. There was a Democrat that spoke at the.
Former Democrats. Yeah, I don't know right at the top of my head at the moment, but yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
But they all come out as a coalition party against the establishment party or the uni party. It is, and that's all because if Bush is speaking tonight, then that's he laid the gauntlet down.
Yeah. One more point from Barris about RFK's departure from the race, and let me pop this up here. Trump is currently taking an initial 40% of RFK's votes when asked, who would you vote for if RFK Jr. wasn't on the ballot? Harris is taking about a quarter of RFK Jr.'s vote, and others would consider not voting at all. If Trump is endorsed by RFK, support for Trump increases to just over 6 in 10. Imagine these states that are so close right now. If RFK Jr. gets out of this thing, then yeah, we've got I'm not saying it's fait accompli, but I'm telling you, the stars are starting to align.
Right.
Now we'll see what happens come election night, but that's a whole other thing. Go ahead.
I agree with you. I think it was definitely bolster Trump's odds of winning even more so because definitely RFK is going to bring a certain amount of audience with him, a certain amount of supporters with him. Me personally, when I first started listening to RFK, I like a lot of what he said. I know he's a Democrat. He does make sense on a number of issues. But he's definitely a Democrat, that's for sure. But he makes a lot of sense. A lot of what people I think get swept up with goes back. The reason why the Democrat strategy right now is to hate Trump. And we'll talk more about I have some thoughts about the go back. We're not going back theme they have going on right now. But with RFK Jr., his family is most notable, not just for their wealth, but because of what happened to his grandfather and his father. And so his uncle and his father, excuse me. So I remember when Tucker Carlson was interviewing him, how he was talking about what's happened with the CIA, then some of the truth started coming out then. And I think that's what really started helping him build some momentum in the public eye. And of course, he stayed the same. Of course, he came out with the book and came out talking against COVID, talking about Fauci. So he has some positive uses to him or some benefits that he could definitely add to the Trump campaign. But I think it would be wise for him to get out. I hope he does, and that's from that particular standpoint. But the people, like you said, the people who are saying, hey, I don't think that he's going to really add anything. To me, that's nothing but I don't know if you want to call it a form of gaslighting or basically trying to downplay his impact on this whole entire election process.
No, I agree. And looks like the speaker that we just saw was Governor Maura Healey of Massachusetts, and currently young lady named Courtney Baldwin. Oh, this is interesting. They're bringing us a human trafficking survivor up. That's interesting. Indeed. Now, to go back to something that we'd been sent earlier, and we'll just step away from the stage for a moment. Apparently, Nancy Pelosi the other night had a Hunter Biden moment at the convention. And for those who have not seen this yet, well, watch very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, because this should get good. Walking along, and whoa, what is that? What the heck? Well, I am inclined to think a piece of toilet paper or something that got stuck for pant leg. Who knows? But yeah. There you go. So make of that what you will. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. It is currently 8:20 Eastern Standard Time, 7:20 Central. We are covering the last night of the Democrat National Convention. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I'm joined by my good friend Ruben Christopher Haynes and by Darius Simpson, both of them with respective channels on YouTube. Darius also has a channel on Rumble. They are also on Twitter. Please, if you would, support these good men, subscribe to their channel, tell your friends about it, get your friends to subscribe to their channels. And as always, where your humble host is concerned, any subscriptions that you want to give, anything like that, greatly appreciated. We would really love to have it. We're going to be joined a little bit later by the inestimable Christian Watson, who has absolutely been on fire during this convention, not with just for his commentary with us, but also videos that he's putting out. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you may be right.
What?
Oh, good point, Christy. Good point. Good point.
True.
Good point indeed. Yeah, they're running a video up there right now. And other notable speakers this evening will include Maxwell Alejandro Frost. Okay. Colin Allred. Let's see who else. Oh, good news, fellas. The Chicks are going to be here tonight.
The Chicks.
The Chicks. Otherwise, the Dixie Chicks. So. Yeah. Gabby Gifford will be here. Pink will be performing. Mark Kelly will be performing. Leon Panetta. Ruben Gallego. Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I thought Whitmer had already spoken earlier during the convention. Adam Kinzinger is going to be here. Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina. And Roy Cooper will be introducing Vice President Kamala Harris as she accepts her party's nomination to seek the presidency of the United States. Gentlemen, I mean, you've been keeping an eye on social media, both of you, and everybody else has as well. Your thoughts as we now enter the last day of this convention, and here's the question that I'm getting to here. Does it feel like, really, and I mean, we all have biases, so I understand that, but does it feel like at all that Vice President Kamala Harris is getting any kind of bounce out of this convention?
No.
No, she's not.
No. I don't sense none of that energy. All I hear is a lot of noise. I listen to a lot of substanceless, if that's a word, substanceless conversation. I hear a lot of personality bashing, but no, I don't sense the energy. The tide is not turning. No.
Ruben?
Oh, sorry. What's
my apologies. I'm sorry. Okay. For my part, again, the polling right now is very weird because there are polls that are being dropped that were done 2 weeks ago, but they're supposedly trying to show Kamala Harris with a lead. And I'm like, why are you guys holding polls up for 2 weeks and not dropping them? Unless, of course, you're trying to help create a narrative. Yeah,
sorry,
exactly.
Illusion.
Sorry. Exactly.
There was something going on with Ben Johnson was posted something Vivek was being attacked.
Yeah.
You know, again, it goes right back to what we've been talking about the last couple of nights. This is all about wordplay. Mm-hmm. If those who control the flow of information, just think about this moment. What if the media was not biased? What if it called the news or reported right down the line? Mm-hmm. What would these conversations be like right now? That's the question we should, I mean, obviously it's not reality, but what would they be like? They know they have the media in their back pocket. The CIA knows it. The FBI knows it. The Biden administration knows it. These Democrat folks, they know this. So they can pretty much say what they want. If you, what do you say? If you repeat a lie often enough,
it will become the truth.
Become the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, I don't know if anybody saw this from earlier today, but there's a good piece of news coming out of Arizona vis-a-vis the Supreme Court of the United States. And I'll go ahead and pop this up on screen while we're waiting for other notable poobahs to come up. In a massive win for election integrity, Supreme Court has upheld Arizona's law requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote. Voter registration law will immediately go into effect ahead of the November election. Yeah. So there you go. There you go. And Ruben, I just saw what you sent me in private chat, so let me take a look at that and set that up. So that is a piece of good news coming out of the West. So there you go, folks. That came out about mid-afternoon, I think. So,
well, yes, and we can take. It's good to take any wins, especially at this juncture, that we can get.
yo, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, it's currently 8:25 Eastern Standard. We are looking in on that's leaving the stage right now is former Representative Deb Howland, and upcoming is Representative Colin Allred. Again, more videos from the Democrats. Thank you very much. This is going to be. Let me ask you guys this question: What kind of speech do you anticipate Kamala Harris giving tonight? No. I'm serious about this because up to now it's been Trump bad. We're not going back. We need joy.
Mm-hmm.
Hope is renewed. And nothing of Kamala's going to get housing prices down. How? Kamala's going to help first-time home buyers. How?
Right.
I mean, I don't see what. And again, I'm kind of an odd duck in that, I want specifics. I want you to tell me what it is that you're going to do. But it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, I don't know. This convention does not feel like it's doing for the Democrats what they need to do. But then again, that's just me. I could be absolutely dead wrong.
No, sir. It's not just you. I think we all feel the exact same way because it's supposed to be some rock star. I think I heard somebody earlier say it that the viewers, their viewing has gone way down. So I don't have the numbers on it, but I heard it. I think I saw
the first night it was down like 20% from 2016 levels, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, back then they had more substance. As crazy as they were back then, they had more substance than they do today.
Yeah, no, absolutely true. Absolutely true. We've got something here that Ruben has sent over. And again, folks, if you find interesting memes, if you find articles of interest that you'd like for us to talk about, we're just basically wading through this sea of Democrat democracy. But we've got an exchange that happened today at the Democrat National Convention. Benny Johnson and Vivek Ramaswamy were walking around together, and this fun little exchange happened. This runs about a minute, so check this out.
Vote for merit and free speech. And you know what? The values this country was founded on. The reality is, vote for whoever you think is going to better do that. So you figure out who that is, and who's going to revive national pride and get us out of World War III. Figure out who you think is going to be the best person to do that. And whoever that is, that's going to be the right vote for the country.
That we do not have the right to vote. You are a fraud. Coming out here and telling the folks that we can't vote.
Losing him.
You are to debate us.
I think the only thing that was it's
and I am deeply disappointed in you. And for you to say that we should have a poll test, just like a literacy test,
so
it's disgusting.
I'll address yours, but then I'm going to let me have this conversation.
You.
Okay,
you say I don't have the right to vote. Young people are powerful.
Absolutely.
And we're going to show you November 5th.
Absolutely, you have the right to vote.
And
I encourage everybody to vote. So what I want to, the only thing that I ask for is they came on the stage and stomped their feet rather than having a conversation. The thing I would love is to have an open debate. So you want to come out and do it? You want to come out and have a discussion?
Discrimination.
Holy cow. There you go, folks.
Now, don't they call the Trump supporters the crazy ones? The MAGA supporters, we're the violent ones. We disrupt everything, and that we are the threat to democracy and all that.
It's funny you say that because I cannot tell you the number of people and let me do one thing real quick before I finish my thought. Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. I better keep my glasses on after what happened this evening, because I'm trying to take something of a headache. Zippy with a Rumble rant. Thank you very much, Zippy. Damn, you look great in red, sir. Santa has come to pass around the dark drinks. Well, I don't know about passing around the dark drinks. And I wasn't going for the Santa Claus look. Like I said, communists love the color red. And I figured, given that it was Kamala, my pimp daddy outfit would probably be the most appropriate thing to wear tonight. You know, if she saw me in this outfit, she'd get it. I don't know what I'm. What are you shaking your head for over there? Seriously, why are you shaking your head over there? Do you not think that Kamala would appreciate,
Yes, she would.
She would.
That's the whole point. Gosh.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Then of course,
to go back.
It would be hilarious if basically you nabbed an interview with Kamala Harris.
Ooh, boy, I would love to see that.
So then you should actually do a picture of yourself and then send her a tweet saying, "Hey, you want to have an interview?"
I would love it.
In your pimp outfit. You should do it.
Hey,
he'll do it. He'll do that for $50. He'll do it for $50. Send your super chats to have him do it. He'll do it for $50.
Oh my goodness gracious! Let's see who's up on stage right now. Representing Maxwell Frost from Florida.
Throwing money.
And I promise, folks, we're gonna start listening in on some of these, but I'm just waiting for
somebody notable.
Yeah, well, there's that. Okay, there you go. Somebody notable. But yeah, I mean, anyway, no. To get back to the point I was starting to make.
If that's the case, we should change your channel.
Yeah, really. We ought to be listening on a Trump thing. But anyway, to get back to the point that I was starting to make, I can't tell you the number of people on the left or even Democrats in general. Matter of fact, one of the best examples, Representative Dean Phillips from Minnesota, Democrat. He challenged Biden in the primary this year.
Mm-hmm.
He made the statement that he went to a Trump rally in New Hampshire. Yeah. He said, and I'm almost quoting him, he said, it was amazing the level of respect. People were having fun. There was great energy. He said, I was expecting to be, treated, given who I am. And people found out that I was a Democrat. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, you're one of the. He said, no, they didn't care.
Right.
There are tons of people over the past, 9 years that have said much the same thing.
Mm.
And they come away from these rallies and they go, these people aren't the monsters that they're made out to be.
Right.
It just frankly kind of just blows my mind at this point.
Well, I saw that same interview and I was absolutely surprised by that too. Not how people treated him, but I was surprised that he aired it. I was surprised he had the courage to even go and check it out for himself.
Yeah.
And I respected him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really amazing to me. Wait a minute. Wait. What is this?
What?
TMZ says the surprise guest is Beyonce. Are we talking about the Trump rally? Are we talking about the Trump rally tomorrow out in Arizona? I'll have a
no, not that one.
Well, keep in mind. Wait a minute. Keep in mind. This is coming from TMZ. Okay. Oh, okay. No, we're not talking about the Trump rally tomorrow. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks. I was like, man, what?
Oh, if she sings that, what's that? Who Runs the World? Kamala's.
No.
That was an interesting movie too, wasn't it?
Oh goodness. What else have we got here that's being? Let me check my Twitter feeds and see what else is being. Oh yeah, there is all kinds of stuff coming down. Let's see. I think Ruben just sent me something else in private chat.
Just the one.
I sent just the
one.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. All right. We might be playing that. We might be playing that a little bit later if we got some time on our hands. But yeah, this is.
Oh yeah.
Man, they are trying to turn that place into the Excalibur dance club. They got strobe. Look at this. They got strobe lights going. They got,
What?
I know.
They're just trying to generate fake energy,
I guess.
just like fake news.
Jeez.
So they're giving us the impression that everything is great. My question is this: is how many of those people actually have been paid to be there?
A ton of them, from what I understand. A ton of them.
There you go.
WWG1 over on Rumble. Good evening, Wingnut. Will Ruben make it to the end of the show? He's already yawning. Well,
Ooh, who's saying that?
I'm not sure I'm going to make it to the end of this show. I'm telling you what.
I'm
First of
tired.
all,
Well, I'm tired. Come on.
Look at there. They always.
Oh my God! Oh, what's so funny about that? Who is it? Viva Frey just said it right now. Just put it out there. So then Al Sharpton brought out the 5 people that that Trump did the ad out for regarding the beating or the whatever happened. Yet Kamala Harris kept black men in jail past their sentences and wouldn't release them.
yeah.
And I saw a video on that today. Matter of fact, of one of the guys actually being. If I find it, I'll send it to you, Brian. Well, I'm sure I'll be able to find it. But he was being interviewed, and he was locked away. I forget, for 6 years, 6.5 years.
Yeah.
This was terrible. People should listen to his side of the story. That's what the journalist or the reporter was saying. Listen to get your side of the story. And he was talking about how she, I won't mess up. If you're gonna show it, I'll let him tell his own story. But I found that very interesting. And yes, he's a black man. I want to say that just for folks, because she supposedly. But Brian, you want me to find that video, that clip?
Yeah. Go ahead and do it.
He's black.
Yeah, we're just keeping an eye on things going on the stage. There's a candidate for Congress in the state of Alabama. I'm trying to find his name real fast. They might pop it up here. But yeah, for my part, I'm going to be very curious. No, Andrew, I appreciate that, but no Chinese tonight. There was Italian by way of a car wreck, but no. No Chinese tonight, but glad you're here. Thank you for being here tonight, brother. Yeah, I'm very interested to hear what her speech is like tonight. I really am. This should be very, very interesting. Truly.
Oh, I'm sorry too, Brian. You did ask us about that, and I don't think I gave an answer to it. But I mean, it's kind of hard to say because they really do come out of left field. I mean, listen to this. They went from the talking point last week leading up to this week, and then you've heard a little bit about it during the course of this DNC. The talking point or the theme was Trump and the Trump supporters are weird.
Yep.
Now they got a different phrase, a new phrase. We're not going back. Going back to where? I mean, somebody else pointed this out very well. They said for the last, it was a Republican. He was on being interviewed on CNN with their people. But anyway, he pointed out something. He said over the last 12 years, Democrats have been in office. You had Obama, who served for 8 years. Then you had Trump in the middle. That's 4 years. Then you had Biden. Excuse me. So really, there's a lot of problems in there. They keep saying Trump, 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 but you had Democrats who had been in power for the bulk of the last 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the part that gets me. We're not going back. Well, no one's back to what? Well, he's gonna make us. Did Trump? All right. Here's the question that the voters are asking: did Trump do any of the things? Did Trump try to deny black people the right to vote? Did Trump try to put women back in the kitchen? Did Trump deny LGBTQ people the right to participate in society? No. Now the Democrats aren't going to stop saying it. They're really not. They won't stop saying it. But it's just absolutely amazing to me. Just amazing. And we're seeing who's up on stage now. Okay, she's closing out her segment. Well, very good. But yeah, it's just, I just don't see it. I don't see this convention helping the Democrats at all. Oh, she's going to raise a lot of money off of this, which of course, that's not to be terribly surprising, but I just don't see it. I don't see how they're getting anything out of this. Nothing.
I don't either. I really don't. They thought they were, but they know they don't have a strong foundation. They know this. So their bread and butter is their current base. Their bread and butter is continuing to lie and mislead. Their bread and butter, or part of their team, is the media, because the media is only going to keep parroting their talking points and keep demonizing Trump and others. So there's a strategy being played. They know, just like they know Kamala cannot beat Trump head to head no more than Biden could. So, matter of fact, she got even worse chance because all she do is laugh. So the question is what trick do they really have up their sleeve beyond this event?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's just to me, it's just really interesting indeed. So yeah, I was just taking a real quick look at some national polls, which I'll pop these up here while we're waiting. Representative Allred is currently on the stage right now. He is represented from Texas, and we're about to close out one portion of the program. And then going into the heart of the order, starting at around 9:00 Eastern, with Ella Emhoff is speaking. That should be interesting. We have Lucy McBath, who's a representative from Georgia. Gabby Giffords, former member of the U.S. House. Mark Kelly, her husband. Former Representative Leon Panetta, who has served in various different functions. Yeah. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, will be speaking. And then it goes to Adam Kinzinger, Roy Cooper, and then Kamala Harris will close out the night. So it's moving along with folks. It is.
Let me special guest is that listed?
No, did not see anything. Let me just make sure that I've got. Yeah, some new polling has come out today, and some of this stuff, and this is what's kind of making me and others, particularly Rich Barris, very suspicious. Let me pop some of these up here for everybody's benefit. Rasmussen just dropped a new poll today. Trump with a 3-point lead, 2-point lead if you throw in everybody else. And that, again, this assumes that Kennedy is still in the race. Data for Progress, which is a very notorious Democrat pollster, only has Harris up by 3. And there is one thing I want to see about that poll real fast. Hang on. Okay, go away. I'm looking for something here. Come on, give me the specifics.
Here we are.
What's the margin of error on this thing?
What's the methodology? I want to know if it's registered photos. Probably registered.
That's kind of under 45, no college. Okay, well, we'll look at that.
Likely voters. They're guessing. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They say likely, then they are skewing the numbers. Then that's basically who's going to historically vote.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, head to head, supposedly Kamala has a 1.5-point lead. Take it for what it's worth. So, we shall see. These polls, Anyway.
I mean, do you really trust the polls, though?
Some of them, no. I just flat out don't. I really just don't. And it's not that I'm trying to be, to me, I listen to Barris. I listen to Robert Cahaley at Trafalgar, Matt Towery at Insider Advantage, maybe a handful of other people. Patrick Basham at the Democracy Institute. But I'm not buying it. I don't see how this convention is helping the Democrats at all. I really don't. They're not doing anything in my book. They're not doing a thing to reach out beyond their base. That's
Right.
it. And I don't think a base election for the Democrats is going to be able to do it for them, but especially given the fact that they are bleeding. Whoops, we lost Darius.
Oops. He'll
All
come
right,
back.
what'd you do? Throw him out?
No, I do shit.
Yeah, that's what you say. I bet you did. No, I was just getting ready to say, I don't think the Democrat base is all that secure when they're bleeding. Okay, I see you. Hang on, brother.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, what I was getting ready to say was, given that Donald Trump is bleeding anywhere from conservatively 15%, possibly as high as 20 or 22% of the African American vote, he's getting around 40 to 45% of the Hispanic vote, and he's doing very well with the female vote. I don't see how the Democrats can sit there and feel comfortable in the idea of, okay, let's go forward with a base election where we just turn out our base and, that'll be enough for us to win.
Right.
That's far from that.
No,
exactly.
this has been, how would you say it? The encapsulation of the confrontation that Vivek had with the crazy yelling person is just this. This is the convention. It's just yelling and screaming, joy. Like, what? We're not going back. We want joy. And I'm like, okay, going back to what? What are you doing? I don't understand.
And speaking of that, y'all mentioned old race hustler Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
He get on my nerves. How come he is one of the loudest voices, supposedly, who cares about the black people? How come he didn't make any complaints about that abortion bus out there where over 25 children were aborted or killed during the course of this week so far?
That's a great question. That is really a great question. And considering the history that Al Sharpton has with Donald Trump, Donald Trump, prior to running for president, Jesse Jackson publicly praised him.
Yep.
To the best of my knowledge, Sharpton and Trump had a good relationship for years. And then Trump decides to run for president, and there you go. That ended that, along with many other relationships. So yeah, very, very interesting. Gypsy over on Rumble says the Imhoff daughter should be the best part of the night. You might be right. So we will definitely pop in on that part of it. So, and I see him in the background. We will go ahead and bring him in. I'm always interested to hear his comments. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the electronic front porch, the Professor Christian Watson. Christian, how you doing tonight?
Hello. I'm all right. How are you? Hello.
Hello. So yeah, good to see you, sir. So
you too. Sorry for being a little bit late.
No, you're perfectly fine. The Democrats are doing what the Democrats normally do. They bloviate. And Lord knows they have a lot of people bloviating on this state. I was telling the other guys, I've never seen, and the Republicans are just as bad about this. Okay, I have never seen two parties that are so convinced that if they let everybody speak for 3 minutes, that it somehow enhances the quality of the product that they're putting out there. It's like, guys, have you ever heard of the concept less is more? Like I say, these conventions more or less now are gigantic infomercials, and I get it, but it's like, really? Really? It's like, Well, anyway, you have been on fire with tweets, videos, comments. as we roll into the last night of the Democrat convention, your thoughts about the first 3 days so far, and what do you expect from Kamala Harris' speech tonight?
Well, the first day started off by setting the groundwork for the image they're trying to paint about Kamala, and that is, again, I mentioned two things. Number one, she's the continuation of the legacy of the Civil Rights Act or the Civil Rights Movement, rather, and for that reason, opposing her is to oppose the Civil Rights Movement. But then number two, and this is something that was reflected in Raphael Warnock's speech and several other speeches that happened, it was that we have to have this communitarian understanding of human relationships. And we have to organize our politics around this communitarian understanding of human relationships. And if we don't, we are somehow creating an injustice to the world. We're somehow doing an injustice to our neighbors, to our friends, to people that are fellow humans, not just here in America, but also around the world. And so you had a little bit of that going in. Then you get the second day. I think it was the second day. Well, it's the fourth night now. So excuse me if I get my dates mixed up. It's totally fine. But I'm just talking from what I know. Bill Clinton came in one of those days. And I think his speech was kind of the apex of some of the problems that are embodied in modern politics. I'll give you a few observations I have on that front. Number one, status. So status has been a problem that we dealt with in human history for a very, very long time. For a very long time, status is actually the legitimizing force of political order. For a very long time, your family, your caste status, your designation within the government was not just a sign of social legitimacy, because Rob Henderson talks about this a lot in his Theory of Luxury Beliefs about social legitimacy, but it was also a sign of moral legitimacy as well. So the higher status you had, you had more ability to do more things as opposed to other people as well. It kind of gave you license, so to speak. Well, the American founders rejected this idea quite simply, but status actually wormed its way back in to American society in early America. It wormed its way back in the form of the aristocracy. It wormed its way back in the form of the bankers and other kinds of people who represented the kind of high society that was decidedly just not really American per se. It was inherited from Europe, but it came to classify a certain strata of American life. And status, once again, as time went on, as newspapers rose in popularity, as certain people got certain status, it became once again a moral legitimized, a force of moral legitimacy. And so today you have people like Bill Clinton, who are willed out from 25 years ago, who we should listen to because they have had some status in their past life, and they still do now, having been the president and so on and so forth. And this really blinds people from being able to consider what is important. Because nothing Bill Clinton said last night was compelling, even if I may, putting myself in the shoes of a Democratic voter. It's not compelling. Most of it was actually just lies. He said that Trump and J.D. Vance, something about children or whatever, that was just an absolute lie. He mischaracterized several of Trump's policies. He threw a cheap shot at Trump being older than him. It was really a hodgepodge of nonsense. He sounded frail. He sounded weak. But the most important thing is not how he sounded or how he looked. The most important thing is what his presence there represents. His presence there represents, the fact that the political party system in both sides, they value status as a force of moral legitimacy. This is not just a Democratic problem. This is also a problem on the right as well. We have it with our influencers. If a certain person says something and they have a lot of followers, they have a lot of legitimacy in the eyes of people, and they're taken more seriously as opposed to folks that don't have. And this, by the way, this is a problem that has to stop, because I see a lot of influential people like James Lindsay saying stupid shit all the time, excuse my language, that I'm just like, why aren't people looking at this? Like, why aren't people realizing that this is just nonsense? But again, this is what moves politics. And so long as status, and Chris Cuomo actually talked about this last night, how status, right, move the political machine. He's talking about in terms of money. That's just one dimension of it. Yeah. That's one dimension. Money's one dimension. There's several other dimensions you got to talk about, but that's an important dimension too. So we kind of saw that. We kind of also saw, I think, the unwillingness for the Democratic Party to hold their own heroes accountable. There is good evidence to suggest that Bill Clinton was involved in activities that are less than reparable. There is good evidence to suggest that him and his wife have been involved in things for years, not just evidence that suggests it. There were several scandals that happened during his administration that proved that him and his wife were up to no good. And why would you want these people to go ahead and give a character assessment of Kamala Harris? But it goes a little bit deeper than that, because what I also noticed, I know this is turning into a long thing, but I'll prop up in a moment, I promise you. What I also noticed is, because when you tell me to talk, Brian, I can go.
No, I know. You're fine. Don't worry. You're good.
What I also noticed is that, especially last night, they were trying to justify Kamala Harris's ascent to the presidency on the basis of her character. They were doing this earlier today as well. They were saying, for example, that there was this lady who was sexually assaulted by her father, and Harris helped her, and that kicked off her career as a prosecutor. There are people saying yesterday that her sister was up on the screen and things of that sort. And I don't think that's the argument you really want to use ever. Why ever? Not because character doesn't matter. Character does matter, but I think character judgments are more susceptible to our own tastes and what kind of person we approve of, as opposed to anything objective, unless it comes to the extreme stuff. So if someone is involved, obviously, in like extortion, money laundering, things like that, okay, obviously that is the character that we don't want to deal with. But in most cases, character is entirely about tastes and nothing else. And so there's evidence to suggest that Kamala Harris is an abusive person to work for. There's evidence to suggest that Kamala Harris is mean to even her own staff. There's evidence to suggest that Kamala Harris is more of an opportunist in how she treats her social relationships. There's evidence to suggest all of this. So the moment you invoke her character as a justification for her presidency is the moment you unearth all that other stuff as well. You open yourself up for attack. Yep. So what you do, you don't focus on that stuff too much. And by the way, this goes for both left and right. If Donald Trump was being elected on his character alone, he would have a rough time, not because he's a bad person, but because he has he has not just a closet, he has an entire living room full of skeletons, that most of that which have come out, that 20 years ago, evangelicals would have said, excuse me, what happened with your marriage? Excuse me, you were doing well with that woman? Excuse me. They would have cut him off. Now it doesn't matter. And people say it's about not being consistent. No, I think people are realizing that they have to reorganize their hierarchy of value. People realize that your hierarchy of value can't be so stiff. It has to be anchored to something, obviously. Mm-hmm. But it can't be so stiff that you're letting your tastes, which are not as refined as your values. Taste and values, the difference between taste and values is tastes are things that you feel, values are things that you refine in your mind. You can't let your tastes influence how you interact with the future of the country. And unfortunately, the Democrats are doing just that. So all in all, I think that they are making some big mistakes. I think that they are also saying a few things that are instructive for voters to understand as things go along. And I think that their attempts to pin Kamala to something greater than herself is a little bit insulting. And I think it's also a sign of where they're going to be headed in as we progress towards November. I have many more thoughts, but I'm going to stop there.
No, you're perfectly fine, sir. Yeah, I think that, you'd mentioned something as we're looking in real quick on what goes on at the Democrat convention right now. A lot of singing and a lot of flag waving, which I never thought I'd see the Democrats wave a flag. So this is kind of a rarity in American politics.
Is Beyonce on yet? Is Beyonce on yet?
No, she has not arrived yet, apparently. The chicks supposedly are in the house, but I mean, take that for what it's worth. Talking about the evangelical vote and Trump, I mean, I can think of a time, and I can remember a time 25 years ago, if someone said, yeah, we should run Donald Trump for the presidency on the Republican side, the evangelical wing of the Republican Party would be like, nope, we ain't have nothing to do with him. Forget it. But then again, there's also a counter to that. In the late 1940s, I think it was, Bob Jones Sr., the founder, I think you know the story I'm about to go to here. Bob Jones Sr.
I'm sorry, I had to stop myself. Let me stop myself.
No, that's all right.
Enjoy yourself.
The founder of Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina, a very, very, very conservative Christian college, gave his endorsement to Harry Truman. Now, back in that day, Bob Jones Sr. might have had the influence of a Billy Graham or other nationally known religious leaders, and the evangelical Christian community was shocked. The nation, secular people were shocked. And they said, Dr. Jones, how can you possibly endorse Harry Truman? He swears like a sailor. To which Bob Jones replied, yes, but I know who he's cussing at. And and I think, Christian, it goes very much to your point about, questions of taste and questions of values. I think the evangelical community, I mean, this is just me speaking broadly, I could be dead wrong about this, somewhere along the way said, okay, are we electing pastors or are we electing presidents? And somehow they managed to reconcile an answer to that question that lets them support someone like a twice divorced Donald Trump with all his picadillos and skeletons in the closet or out in the wide open for everybody to see. So yeah, it's an interesting time in which we live. Truly a do. Truly a do.
Let me chime in on that, and I do agree because you can call me. I'm a part of the evangelical community. Let's say I'll kind of speak from that perspective. I was messaging someone. I think it's either Instagram or to my tweets. Some Christian believers do not believe that God will use somebody like a Donald Trump because of his past, his issues. And I said, listen, everybody, number one, has an issue. For those who believe in God, everybody has issues. Why would God choose you? You know what I'm saying? So if God can choose you, I mean, people gonna be. I said this way for those who believe. Let's just say in general, all of us believe in this. There's a heaven and there's a hell, and one day I believe a lot of people are gonna be shocked who's up there and who's not. It's just that simple. Because God chooses people, and I had to tell this. I was telling someone this. I said God chooses people based on you gonna work for him or directly, or you gonna work for him indirectly. That's really your choice. But if you fit that, if you can fit a certain role that fits his purpose for you or for that particular moment, God gonna use you. You get to choose if you're gonna be his partner or you're gonna be his enemy, but you're going to choose. So Trump is not a perfect person by no stretch of the imagination. I'm not a perfect person either. And God said yes. Yeah, I mean, we all of us have strengths and weaknesses, and we're gonna, and hopefully, we're gonna start becoming more stronger as life progresses. But the point is, if the only perfect person I'm aware of, the only perfect person I believe in, imperfect people murdered him. So if Trump was perfect or if Biden was perfect, how many people would still vote for him? I mean, it's not like we're going to get a perfect, you're not going to get the perfect candidate. You may get the perfect candidate for that moment or maybe the perfect candidate that fits your value system or your taste, but you're not going to get the perfect person.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Agree. We're just keeping an eye on the stage to see. And right now there's a little throwback to the James Brown era as they're playing Living in America. So
it's good music.
So, great music! I love me some James Brown. Are you kidding? The true Godfather of soul. I tell you what, the United Center in Chicago is turning into quite the party, apparently. So but Christian, let me ask you a question. I kind of posed this to the gentleman, the other panelists. Kamala tonight is now, by the strangest set of circumstances in American political history, about to achieve something that she's been chasing since 2019. She is about to become the nominee of the Democrat Party. In a convention that has been orchestrated, engineered with any number of different themes, ideas, etc., now she is giving the apex moment of the night, the pinnacle. What are you looking for her to say in her speech tonight, if anything?
Well, I'm going to start with the obvious, and I'm going to work down to some of the more non-obvious points. The obvious point is I want her to articulate a positive, by positive I mean prescriptive, agenda for the future. I want her to lay out exactly how she intends to govern when she is in the Oval Office. She's not done that very well recently. She did that in one case, and that one time was at I think she was in North Carolina for her economic speech. And during that speech, she laid out several disastrous policies that were immediately unpopular with the business world, that were immediately unpopular with a lot of people. And so that's the first thing I want her to do. The second thing I want her to do is I want her to drop the facade. She has a big facade that she uses to shield herself from being truly exposed for who she is. And I think that people ought to know exactly who she is. I think that she ought to lean into who she is, whatever that might be, and she ought to drop the facade. The third thing, I want to hear her articulate in plain language why her vision for America is the best vision for America in coordination with the principles that established us.
Okay.
Now, this is something that many people are not even asking for or expecting. because people don't expect that of her. But I do expect that of her. I expect that of her very much because she is running to be the president. She has a decent chance of winning, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And so I need to know if she does win, how she's going to preserve the Constitution. I mean, people may say, well, she will not, Christian. Well, then that's certainly a problem that we should be aware of, shouldn't it? I'm not someone who expects less of my elected officials just because I have a perception of them. I want the best for all my elected officials. I don't care who they are. I wanted the best for Joe Biden. I really wanted him to be able to, I'm not going to say I wanted him to be able to deliver on his agenda because his agenda was terrible, but I wanted him to be able to at least govern in some minimalistic capacity, and he was not able to do that. So he failed a very basic test of competence that we should expect as a bare minimum from our leaders. And the last thing I'm really hoping that Kamala does, I'm hoping that she moves beyond joy and freedom and actually talks about the consequences of her worldview. The consequences of her worldview and what it actually means. Because Pete Buttigieg, for example, did that in his speech last night. And I'm not sure you guys caught that speech. Mayor Pete's speech.
Yeah.
So here's what I'll say. Pete Buttigieg is one of the most intelligent expositors of the progressive agenda. Pete Buttigieg is going to be a threat to conservatives in the near future. He is very good at debate. I went when Iowa was happening a few years ago, and they were still trying to elect a Democratic nominee. I went on a university school trip to Iowa, and I got to meet. I didn't meet him directly, but I had people that are very close to him. I went to several of his events, and his ability to command a room was something that I haven't seen. And I'll be a little bit bold and say this: I have not seen it in anyone except Obama. That is how much of a threat. Yes, that is how much of a threat Mayor Pete is to conservatives politically. And intellectually, you hear what he said in his speech. He said that politics is a kind of soul craft.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I remember the line.
Well, have you heard anyone else use that term in modern politics or deploy that term? The only person I've heard deploy that term in modern politics is not even a politician. It's Cornel West, who's a Marxist philosopher.
Yep.
Okay. So what is soul? Now, I'm not going to go through my whole thesis because I just talked about this in my channel like 2 minutes ago. But the point is this. Soulcraft, that reflects an ethos, a much deeper perspective, a much deeper understanding of his own worldview than we've seen from most people that have come up on the stage so far. So I really think that Mayor Pete is going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem, especially if Kamala Harris loses. If Kamala Harris loses, it's going to be reorganization time for the Democrats. They're going to be trying to figure out who can they best put up when Trump's last term is over to take the reins of power. And you're going to see several factions emerge. One of those factions is going to be heavily pushing for Pete Buttigieg. Mark my words and clip this. Pete Buttigieg is going to become a menace to conservatives in the next 3 to 4 years. Mark my words. I know what I'm talking about. So we got to take this seriously. This guy is smart, former McKinsey consultant, went to Ivy Leagues, has a deep understanding of his worldview. He's a good debater. Mark my words. We have to really and also he can use his sexuality as a tool of accruing favor with Americans. These are things that the normies, so to speak, respond to. Mm-hmm. So people aren't realizing right now because it's all Kamala. I'm looking past Kamala. And I'm looking towards the next 20 years of the Democratic Party, and he, in my opinion, is the face of it.
I was going to say, because, I have referred to this election that's upcoming as a generational fight. And when Biden was still in this race, you would look at that statement and say, generational fight, you got an 81-year-old guy and a 78-year-old guy. Yeah, but remember, they are the last of their generation. Mm-hmm. These are realistically probably the last 2 baby boomers that are going to be running for president. What comes up next is Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. And maybe I should have phrased it better by saying this is the precursor to the generational fight. Mm-hmm. But this is a generational fight, and this is the last vestige of the baby boomers at the presidential level. And, the battle is engaged on the Republican side already about what the face of the Republican Party and even the conservative movement is going to be post-Trump. That fight's already got started in earnest.
It better be Vivek.
And yeah,
it better be.
Yeah. He would definitely be the second Trump, so to speak.
Now that sort of begs the question. Everybody is wondering, well, okay, Biden exits the stage, Pelosi exits the stage, the Clintons exit the stage, Schumer will eventually exit the stage.
Mm-hmm.
What becomes of the Democrat Party? Because, as the old expression goes, and every gentleman on this panel is familiar with, power abhors a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And sooner or later, go ahead, Ruben.
No, go ahead.
No, and sooner or later, if the Democrats do wind up losing this election, okay, if they lose this election, the recriminations, the infighting, and the political knives are coming out, and it's going to get bad. Well, Kamala, I don't know. I don't think Kamala comes back from this if she loses. I really don't. No. There's nowhere for her to go.
Did Mitt Romney come back from him losing?
No.
No.
He got a Senate seat, but that, he went to Utah to do it. He carpet bagged one more time, in his life.
What was that, Christian?
No, I said Romney's an ineffective senator. Thank God he's.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, to your point. First of all, I agree with you, Christian. I hadn't considered old Buttigieg. Did he have did he speak very well the other night? Yes. One of the things, like I said, I admire about our enemies is they are intelligent, they're strategic, they're largely well organized. They have a solid strategy on what they're going to do, and they make adjustments. So I don't disrespect. I don't put nothing past them. I was actually telling another friend of mine that today. I said, if I was, and I know I said it the other day, I mean it in just because I understand the severity of it, and I'm glad you brought this up a night or two ago. Is that this literally? I mean, again, what y'all saying right now? This is generational. This to me, this is world shaking. This is history making. We are literally fighting for the future of America.
Let me hold that thought. We have Doug Imhoff's daughter, along with two other young ladies. We will take a moment and listen in on this.
My grandma, and my auntie, who showed me the meaning of service, helping her sister, a 17-year-old single mom, fighting for justice for the American people, and still cooking Sunday family dinner. She guided me. Now she's guiding my own children, and I know she'll guide our country forward.
Kamala came into my life when I was 14, famously a very easy time for a teenager. Like a lot of young people, I didn't always understand what I was feeling, but no matter what, Kamala was there for me. She was patient, caring, and always took me seriously. She's never stopped listening to me, and she's not going to stop listening to all of us.
Kamala Harris is my godmother. To me, her advice means everything. Whether it's pursuing my passions, making an impact, or finding hope when the world doesn't feel so hopeful. She taught me that making a difference means giving your whole heart and taking action.
She's fighting for economic opportunity, LGBTQ plus equality, and reproductive freedom, because we are not going back.
She's fighting for social health justice, environmental justice, and she isn't alone. We're all in this fight together.
So let's keep up the fight. Let's keep up the joy.
And let's elect this extraordinary woman as our next president.
Oh no. Oh no.
Well, that was interesting.
Cringe. Oh, just like canned cringe. Jeez.
Goodness.
It's like casting. We need to go out there, be girls, just like the Showgirls or whatever the other show you're watching on TV now. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm going back to the stage because even though I may not agree with his politics, D.L. Hewley is probably. I want to check this out for just 1 second.
No, wait. Where those AKAs at? Where they at? You know what? In 3 months, ain't gonna be no living with y'all. I can tell you this. I don't blame Donald Trump for not wanting to debate Kamala. I've been married to a black woman for 40 years and I ain't won one debate. I'm owing 93,000. Now, of course, Trump is saying that Kamala isn't black. I guarantee you this, Kamala's been black a lot longer than Trump's been a Republican.
Okay, so...
And if he keeps sliding in the polls the way he is, the only way he can keep Kamala out of the White House is if he buys it and refuses to rent it to her.
What?
Of course, Kamala's getting broad support. They got black men for Kamala, white men for Kamala, Latinos and Asians for Kamala. They even have Republicans for Kamala. Republicans for Kamala. I guess Donald Trump will finally know what it's like when you get left for a younger woman. But seriously, Kamala knows the truth about the American dream, that hard work is not alone enough. Hard work alone is not enough to succeed, that you need access and information and opportunity. And she knows that some folks are often denied those very things. As president, she will give each and every one of us a fair shot in life. but I have to say that I didn't always.
Excuse me?
I mean, if you told me
to mandate this,
supporting a prosecutor and a teacher,
wow.
Sorry, just like what?
There is no way that I would have believed you. But because of that, I made assumptions about Kamala's record, and I often repeated them to a lot of people. Then one day, Kamala invited me to her house. She put her hand on my shoulder and she asked me to do some research, something I had never done, something a lot of people I know had never done before.
And you still need to do some more.
Someone's character without a single Google search. So I did what I should have done in the first place. I learned that she had done for us exactly what she promised to.
This is scary right now.
Apology should be as loud as your accusation.
Google is probably working their favors to change everything right now. Characters, Kamala, they're colluding right now. They're telling everybody to do it right now. This is
I was wrong, and I'm so very glad I was wrong because Kamala, you give me hope for the future, a future where my grandchildren, Nola and Stevie, had the freedom to control their own bodies, where they have the opportunity to go as far as their wits and their talents would take them. That future, ladies and gentlemen, is possible, but only if we elect Kamala Harris as the 47th president of the United States of America.
I'm serious.
I will say to you, the best piece of advice I've ever gotten in my entire life is you don't have to know what you will do, just know what you won't. And we won't go back.
We won't go back, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No. This is serious. I bet you. I want to get some research done right now because again, they said just Google it, Kamala character. And Google, they already did this. They already colluded with Google to change search items. So if they're doing it again, and we found it, that's electioneering right there, isn't it?
That's what they're doing. And see,
they're taking basically.
Go ahead.
Making all of the articles that pop up when she, because people are dumb, people are stupid. Kamala Harris, and then the first thing comes up, character. They can do that. You right now, everyone on their computer, you can do that. When you type in predictive text, it'll you know what's next. It'll pop up. It'll be the next big thing. Twitter will do it. All that stuff. They are trying to do it their bot farm. Again, it's all planned.
Oh yeah, big time. And real quick on the back to what theme this week. The only thing I can legitimately think of that they're talking about not going back to, because everybody's saying the black people, white people, Hispanic people on this side of the aisle, they're saying they don't want to go back to a Trump presidency and what that represents. That's the only thing. Trump represents freedom. He represents true American, the true American way of life. He represents power. He represents having a good standing on the world stage and respect. Not a perfect man, once again, but America was strong under his leadership. And so what they're saying is the globalists do not want to go back to America being viewed as, again, the superpower of the world, the example and the light of the world, if I can use that term, and a thriving economy and its sovereignty, because all of those things are under attack at this very moment. The economy, the borders, you put it all together, our ideals, the very identity of America is also being attacked. We're changing, we're shifting from like what Christian was talking about as far as Buttigieg is concerned. I hate on nobody. I do not accept everybody's lifestyle. I'm gonna tell you that up front. I'm not shy about that, but I don't go out of my way to attack anyone. Okay, so I could sit down and have a conversation with Mr. Buttigieg, for example. I do not approve of his lifestyle. No more he probably approve of mine. But the very identity, the moral fabric of this country has been changing ever since Obama got in office to a whole nother level. So what we're seeing is what they're saying they don't what we have seen during the Trump administration is what they're saying, because I can't see anything else. I don't see anything else. What they're saying is we're not going to go back to a Trump-led presidency.
Well, that's and Christian, I want to get your thoughts on this, because to me there have been two things that to me are counterproductive as far as messaging is concerned, and you and I might wind up disagreeing on this, and that's perfectly fine. The Democrats throughout this whole convention, we're not going to go back. Well, what they're trying to do, at least from my perspective anyway, is create a false construct. What they're trying to do is create what I would call targeted amnesia. They are trying to get everybody to overlook that in the 4 years that Donald Trump was president, there was relative peace at home and abroad. The border was secure by and large. Took a little while, a little tinkering, but it finally got there. That wages increased, that crime was down, that by and large for 4 years, let's say 3.5, excluding COVID, for 3.5 years, it was extraordinarily good years. What the Democrats are trying to do with this, we're not going back, is, okay, we need you guys to targetedly have amnesia on those 3.5 years, and then let us substitute in, here's what the Trump years were really like. I don't know how effective that's going to be, because when you've got skyrocketing inflation, when you've got a very shaky job market, and now you have the Bureau of Labor Statistics announcing 818,000 fewer jobs, I don't know that we're not going back, to which the American people are like, yeah, but I remember what it was like under Trump. The other thing is, we are now in the season of joy. And I know you've been talking about this in videos and tweets and everything else. My question is, well, if you Democrats don't have joy, you've been in the White House for 3.5 years.
Right.
You've been the ones running everything. If there's no joy, aren't you at least at a minimum in part responsible for that? So I don't see how these two lines of conversation effectively help them. Now, again, you might disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine, but I just don't see how this is doing them any good. Your thoughts?
Well, I think in order to understand the utility of the we're not going back argument, you have to understand how they're thinking about what going back means. So remember, they're progressives. Progressivism is fundamentally an aspirational ideology. The entire birthplace of progressivism in the early 20th century was entirely aspirational. They wanted to reimagine what the workplace looked like. They wanted to reimagine what certain kinds of people doing work, like children doing work, looked like. They wanted to reimagine what business and the obligation business had to the community looked like. They wanted to, as Herbert Crowley argued in one of his works, they wanted to reimagine how the Constitution was seen. They wanted to replace that with the democratic interests. And so you have this historical parallel here of progressives always acting upon their abstract vision, and then in those terms imposing that upon reality. So when they say we're not going back, what they mean is, and there's a reason, by the way, this is a very clear reason that they are tying all this back to the civil rights era. There's a reason that on the first day there was there was talk of a person who was affected by Jim Crow. There's a reason for all of this. There's a reason why Shirley Chisholm was mentioned. There's a reason for all of this, because certain events are epochs in history, and those epochs produce certain long-standing themes. And so long as those themes are accepted by a majority of the people, or a good amount of people, uncritically or critically, you're going to be able to use that for narrative power and moral, kind of like moral legitimacy. So when they say we're not going back, what they actually mean is we're going to continue to draw upon the struggles of yesteryear, no matter if they're relevant or not to today, and we're going to use them and construct our agenda like them in order to justify our current ascent to power. So everything you just said about the Trump years is not really relevant to their vision, because their vision is much broader. So they're not literally saying we're not going back to Donald Trump. They are saying that. But what they're really saying is we're going to continue the fights that the suffragettes started, that the civil rights movement started, that the women's rights movement started, that the gay rights movement started. They're going towards civilizational broad epics. So that's how you should understand when they say that. If you look at it a little bit too literally, I think it falls apart quite easily, but it's not constructed to be taken literally. It's constructed to be taken literally.
That's a fair point.
Like a narrative.
All right, so
they're telling a story.
Let me ask you this question, and I guess we're not going to know until November 5th or maybe a few days thereafter. And I guess it's the $1 million question in not just American politics, but in world politics, regardless of what country you're talking about. Okay, the Democrats are trying to paint a narrative. They're trying to say we're not going back. In other words, the aspirational idea that we have this vision of what a world should be, and we're going to keep striving toward that. On the other hand, on the other side of that, you have, and keep in mind, they're communicating to a group of people right now that are going through economic pain, that are trying to figure out how are they going to pay their rent, how are they going to put food on their table, how are they going to put gas in their car, etc. Okay, the Democrats are never going to give up on that message. Or let me rephrase that, not the Democrats. The progressives inside the Democrat Party are never going to give up on that messaging. The Democrat Party is just their vehicle. Okay. And I think that's a fair assessment of the situation. So what happens when a progressive comes upon a voter who says, we're not going to go back. This is the society we're going toward. But the voters saying they're going, yeah, but what are you going to do about my ability to pay my rent, put food on my table, and, pay my bills? I guess the question that I'm asking is, all right, the progressives inside the Democrat Party might be as aspirational as anyone else toward trying to achieve their vision. But what happens when economic reality, meets aspirational vision head on? Who wins that argument?
That depends on what the voter values. What you're talking about here, Brian, you just did something that's very good. You just hit on an issue that's been talked about for the past 2,000, 3,000 years. And that is the tension between pathos and logos, the tension between arguments that move our hearts and arguments that move our head. This is one of the most debated, talked about, studied issues in human civilization. If I had an answer to solve this problem in general, I would be a Nobel Prize winner, I think. I'm not that good at philosophy. There are people that are much smarter than me in philosophy that even they are confused about this. But politically, in that case, and this is why I think the right has a massive opening, because you're right. That aspirational vision only works with people that already agree with you. If people are seeing something in their own life, they're going to experience oftentimes rules the day. And you're absolutely right about that, which is why I think conservatism is the superior philosophy. That's when the right comes in and says, yes, no, this aspirational vision they're trying to sell you is a blank check that you're never going to be able to cash because of XYZ reason. And this is why the conservative vision is superior, both morally and politically. And
Yeah.
the progressive is going to be forced to have to grapple with reality. And they're going to probably try to say what they have been saying to justify Biden's presidency. Like, for example, he passed the Chips and Science Act. For example, he's done student loan debt. So they'll keep the aspirational vision in mind, but they'll try to find things in reality that ostensibly justify things. But an educated voter will know that the student loan debt thing was actually unconstitutional. It didn't go through. And the educated voter will actually know that the Chips and Science Act had troubles in implementation because the Chips and Science Act didn't account for the working shortages that there are in the tech industries of several states. So, and not only that, but the intelligent voter will know that you can't, that if America was able to just produce semiconductors on demand by force of law, you wouldn't be relying on Taiwan and foreign factories to do it for us. It takes a very long time for that kind of thing to happen. So the Chips and Science Act is actually not even an accomplishment for Biden. It was just an absolute boondoggle that only it looks good on paper. But when you actually look at the economic conditions of the time, the Chips and Science Act is an utter failure. But most people don't know this.
Agreed.
And most people on the right don't even talk about the chip. The chip, I have not heard a single right-wing influencer talk about the Chips and Science Act recently, whereas Biden and Harris have been touting it the entire campaign. The Chips and Science Act was an absolute failure. It was an absolute practice in Keynesianism, an absolute practice in central management. It was an absolute failure. Much like Obama's attempt to gen up the renewable energy sector by investing in Solyndra and Solar Trust were absolute failures. Yep. Because he was trying to insert a desire of the government into the market, and the market didn't respond to the market, didn't have conditions that were sufficient for it. So this is where the right needs to hit. Their visions don't translate to reality well, and we need to hit that point.
Oh, absolutely. And offer the alternative vision. Here is why we believe what we believe, and here is what practically it can do if we are allowed the chance to do it. And speaking of which, there's another fascinating, and I'll bring this back to politics. I don't know if anyone's been watching this, but there's an interesting and fascinating dynamic that's going on right now. And again, this is all purely speculation. We're waiting for our next speaker to come to the stage. If it's who I think it is, yep, we're gonna go to the stage. Former Representative Gabby Giffords, representative from Arizona, is coming to the stage to address the Democrat National Convention. She's accompanied by her husband, U.S. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. And the Democrats have just been doing a presentation about freedom from violence. And as everyone knows, Giffords is probably one of the most pro gun control advocates in the country. So we are going to pop in and just listen to this.
Hello, fellow Americans. I'm Gabby Giffords. I was born in the great state of Arizona. I was born with grit. I grew up racing motorcycles, mucking stalls, and exploring the beautiful desert. I fell for an astronaut. For 5 years, I served in Congress from a swing district. Everybody called me a rising star. Then on January 8th, 2011, a man tried to assassinate me. He shot 19 people. He killed 6. Terrible, terrible day. I almost died, but I fought for my life and I survived. I learned to walk again, one step at a time. I learned to talk again, one word at a time. So many people helped me as I worked hard to recover, including a decent man for Delaware who always checked in. He still does. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you for everything. Joe is a great president. My friend Kamala will be a great president. She is tough, she has grit. Kamala can beat the gun lobby. She can fight gun trafficking. Kamala stood up to Wall Street and the drug company. She will protect abortion access. She will defend our freedom. She saved lives. Join me in voting for Kamala Harris. Bravo! Thank you.
That was former U.S. Representative Gabby Gifford and her husband, current U.S. Senator Mark Kelly. We're going to step away from the stage as there's a musical performance that's about to take place. That was not quite what I expected. I was half expecting Gifford to give something of a full-throated defense of why the state should be allowed to confiscate the instruments of self-defense. But all right, on the whole, all right. I'm glad to see she's doing well. I hadn't seen her speak in quite some time, so I'm glad she's doing well. But I want to go back to a tension that is starting to become noticeable. And I tell you what, I don't know what this is going to mean come election day, but have you gentlemen noticed that there is an interesting dynamic at work right now in this race, in that Donald Trump is polling ahead of most Republicans for the House and Senate in respective states? I saw a set of polling on some of the swing state races, particularly Wisconsin, Arizona. Let me think of who else I'd seen. A few other states where Trump is actually outpolling the Republicans, and it's starting to. I'm not going to say I'm worried yet, because dynamics in a race can always change, but we are potentially, if that trend holds through November, we're headed for a fascinating dynamic. And it's this: Donald Trump could wind up being elected to the presidency and have very short coattails to go with it. Now, hang on, let me explain what I'm getting at. It's not so much that Trump will not try to pull people across the finish line. I'm just starting to wonder if, after all these years, all these betrayals, all these, if you elect us, we'll do this, and it never materializes, if finally the Republicans have run out of good as a party. Let me rephrase that. As a party, if they have run out of goodwill and voters are like, nope, you burned us too many times. You are the Lucy that pulls the football away when we, the Charlie Brown, come up to kick it. Thoughts?
I hadn't been following that particular part of it. It's interesting, but would I be surprised that the Republican voters, conservative voters, evangelicals are perturbed and really tired of empty promises? Of course. This is why, in my opinion, people aren't voting. Those on the right aren't voting for the Republicans. They're voting for Trump. This is the
Fair
Trump
point.
party. So I personally do not trust the Republican Party as a whole. I sure don't. They've had opportunities. They run the House right now. What are they getting done? Trump was just nearly assassinated almost a month, going on a month and a half ago. Where are the investigations led by the House? I don't hear them talking about it. I mean, there's just so many miscues on their end of it. It seems like they're part of the swamp too. A lot of them. I can't say all of them, but there's definitely a question. I just think we're definitely at a precipice on a number of issues.
I mean, go ahead.
No. I was just thinking. Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's interesting because there used to be a wisdom that if Trump endorsed you, you're bound to win.
Right.
And we've actually seen the exact opposite of. Oh, is that pink?
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. Well, actually, look, I'll tell you guys. No, I'll tell you guys a story. No, because I'm actually mad at her, and I'm mad at Green Day too. So, earlier in the year, Green Day, during a New Year's Eve celebration, said that they don't want to be part of MAGA, whatever. And then recently, they actually held up a severed head of Donald Trump at one of their concerts,
yeah.
and this didn't get a lot of play. You know,
That's crazy.
Kathy Griffin did this, and she lost her career.
Right.
Billy Joe Armstrong did this, and he's still walking around doing a tour. So anyway, I grew up listening to Pink. I mean, many of her hits came out when I was in middle school and elementary school. I grew up listening to Green Day a little bit later when I was in high school. And so both of them were coming to my area for concerts, but then they decided to say, Pink said that if you don't support the right to an abortion, you're not a fan of mine. And then Green Day attacks badmouths conservatives. So I just think that it's really what you're seeing here is you're seeing a lot of these artists no longer care about their artistry and care more about their taste than their artistry. You know, being an artist used to be you devote yourself to something greater than you, right? Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson, for example, was an artist. No matter what happened in his personal life, no matter what people say about him, his music outgrew him. Prince is the same way. Prince's music outgrew him, and it's taken on a life of its own. When your artistry doesn't outgrow you, and it simply is just a reflection of you, that means your artistry has no consistent principles in it, and it's going to change with whichever way the wind blows, which means that it's not worth very much. And so that's why I'm upset about Prince. Not Prince, not him. He's good. I'm upset that he's dead. I'm upset about Pink. I'm upset about Green Day, because their artistry is compromised. It's utterly compromised, and people like me,
Christian, let me interrupt
you.
I'm sorry to interrupt you real quick, but why do you think that though? Why do you think they're willing to sacrifice their artistry for these ideas or these current philosophies?
There's a few reasons. Number one, the desire to conform with their social cliques. Pink and Green Day are all in the Hollywood circles, and in those circles, progressivism is dominant. And so if they were to come out, at least even if they were just silent, they would be compelled into speaking, because the dominant idea today is that silence is violence. That's one reason. The second reason is they may genuinely believe that those things are true. And they may actually believe that they can use their artistry for what they view as good. Not everyone thinks like us. And it's very likely, that Billy Joe Armstrong does view MAGA as a part of the idiocracy he called out in the mid-2000s. Because, by the way, American Idiot was a song about George Bush and the war. It was a decidedly political song.
Right.
So,
Christian, hold that thought. We're going to go back to the stage. U.S. Senator Mark Kelly is about to speak. When one time considered a vice presidential nominee, or in the eyes of some, perhaps even should have been the presidential candidate.
Gabby amazes me every single day. She was able to walk out and address you tonight because she's a fighter. And thanks to a team of doctors, nurses, and especially her speech therapist. We all need a team. I've flown into space 4 times. I've flown into combat nearly 40 times. Not once did I do that by myself. It took a team to accomplish a mission. It always does. I flew in the Navy during the first Gulf War. America rallied our allies to kick out a tyrant who invaded a neighbor. Today, Vladimir Putin is testing whether we're still that strong. Iran, North Korea, and especially China watch closely. What's Trump's answer? He invited Russia to do, and these are his words, not mine, whatever the hell they want.
That's so out of context.
Vice President Harris has always championed America's support for NATO, for Ukraine, and for the Ukrainian people. On the Senate Intelligence Committee, she investigated Russian interference in our election. She defends free and fair elections everywhere. You already know how Trump feels about those. Donald Trump skipped his intelligence briefings. He was too busy sucking up to dictators and dreaming of becoming one himself. Trump thinks that Americans who have made the ultimate sacrifice are suckers and losers. If we fall for that again and make him the commander-in-chief, the only suckers would be us. Kamala Harris knows that standing with our allies means standing up for Americans. She'll keep modernizing our military to support our troops and to support our veterans like our next Vice President, Tim Walz. The world laughs at Trump, literally. But folks, it is not funny. When he was president, that meant the world was laughing at us. The threats we face are too serious. The sacrifices our service members make are too sacred. The alliances we've spent decades building are too critical. That's what's at stake now. And the choice isn't even close. But in Arizona and nationwide, this election will be. We'll win in the same way we launch rockets into space and land fighter jets on an aircraft carrier as one team on one mission. State by state, voter by voter, coming together. No country is better than ours at solving big problems. So, on November 5th, let's prove that America is still the leader the world needs today by electing the leader we need right now, Kamala Harris. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna step away for just a few moments. I want to go back and finish that point about culture, about artistry and politics. And Christian, I'm sorry I didn't want to interrupt you. I thought that Kelly is they're trying to bone up the credentials of the Democrat Party on foreign policy, and I just love the way they put it. Kamala Harris is going to modernize and strengthen our military. Can somebody? Well, no. I'm not. My question is, you can tell me how you're going to do that? You haven't done it yet. You haven't told me a word. But yet, of course, you're trying to convince me of this. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is the stuff that, I mean, and again, my perspective on this is completely different in that I'm like, tell me what you want to do. I mean, I'll wind up agreeing with you, but at least tell me what you're going to do.
Right.
And nothing to that effect. But anyway, going back to the other discussion about artistry and politics. And Christian, I want to let you finish your thoughts.
Yeah, and so I think when artistry becomes captured by the artist, it loses its value. It loses its true value. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with celebrity culture. And, you know, I've made a lot of videos about celebrity culture and why I think that it's a holdover of the society of status from the 18th century. But I won't go into all that. That's too much to go into. My head would probably hurt going into all that. But I'll just say very simply that it's a tragedy to see how people like Pink and people like Billie Joe Armstrong and others see their fans who are committed to their artistry in light of their own desire to be virtuous in the eyes of those that may be in their social circles or in the eyes of those who may sign their checks. I don't know. But I never assume, when someone disagrees with me, I never assume they disagree with me because they're being controlled and manipulated. I assume that they have honest disagreements with me. That may be mistaken, maybe totally mistaken, maybe conceived upon false grounds. But they have, honest disagreements with me, and we have to grapple with that, and we have to deal with that. And that's the entire point of the pluralistic American project, is to grapple with that in our man-coherent nation while we're doing it. And not enough emphasis is put on that.
Well, and we're watching the Democrat stage right now. Former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, who is truly one of those great old heads of the party. And don't get me wrong, I like Leon. I always have. Never quite agree with all of his politics, but Leon actually was, to me, one of those old school Democrats I could respect. At least he tried to put the country first. And you got to wonder with guys like Panetta, Democrats of a certain generation, they're looking at what's coming up after them, and they're like, you kind of got to wonder, if you got them behind closed doors and there were no microphones around, what would they really say? I think Leon Panetta is one of those gentlemen that'd be fascinating to have a conversation with. But as we're watching this, and to go to something that Christian just mentioned, I can remember, when was this? Maybe about 2 months ago, as things will randomly pop up in my YouTube, viewing. I found an old interview conducted by Dick Cavett of Kirk Douglas, and this is when Cavett had his show that was nationally syndicated, whatever, and they had a good 90-minute discussion of various aspects of Kirk Douglas's life, etc. And then they got onto the subject of John Wayne, who Kirk Douglas and John Wayne had done several films together. In Harm's Way, The War Wagon, a whole bunch of them. And Cavett said, well, John Wayne is known as a very conservative Republican, and obviously your politics is not the same as his. How do you two manage to get along so well? And Kirk Douglas said something that I thought was very interesting. He said, we never talk politics. He said, well, we're working on a film together. We might have dinner 2 times together. Okay. And get together a couple of times, but we never talk about politics. We never, discuss it. It never comes up. I know he knows where I stand. I know where he stands. And we just never get into it. And I thought, it's a crying shame that attitude that once reflected Hollywood 50 years ago is not alive and well today, not just in Hollywood, but across the entire entertainment spectrum, because it would save a lot of heartache and a lot of aggravation on the part of people. I mean, there are a lot of artists currently today. I love their work. I don't care if it's in film, if it's in music or whatever. But I'm not going to watch them because of their politics. I'm going to watch them because they're either a good actor or a good actress, or they're a great singer or a great performer of instrumental music or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I agree with Christian. It's like, in a pluralistic society, could this not at least be the goal? It's like, can we not put politics to the side long enough to just be able to enjoy something culturally? Well,
in the 60s, the personal became political, and the family became monopolized.
Yeah.
Well, the family became monopolized, and the man became the enemy, and the woman became the victor, and that started a downward spiral. And it started before this. In fact, the 60s was the apex. But the sort of collapse of what we call in philosophy the public-private dichotomy. It's not really much of a dichotomy, as much as it is a acknowledgement of how things should be. But they call it a dichotomy because it brings up necessary problems in how political order is run. But the collapse of this public-private dichotomy, this idea that there are 2 spheres of society. There's the public sphere, which is the sphere of the government, the sphere of law, and then there's the private sphere, which is the sphere of family, sphere of the individual, and how should they interact, if at all, has really brought forth a totalizing perspective in the minds of many Americans on how they view their politics. And by totalizing, I mean it encompasses every aspect of life. There is no more public-private distinction. And so effectively, what happens in that case is classical liberalism structurally falls apart because it's no longer being adhered to in its most rigorous form. And you get something else that replaces it. And what you get that replaces it is this kind of, we get several things, whether it be woke is one thing, but you might get some form of leftism. On the right, you might get some form of odd traditionalism that says that the common good. It should be the apex of society, and we should abandon the Enlightenment, and the pre-modern era should be our calling call, regardless of what version it is. When you collapse that public-private dichotomy, tastes now become political values now become tastes, and you've mixed so many things up that you can barely distinguish between the two. And that is what you're seeing at this convention. What you're seeing at this convention is you're seeing the decades-long result of the collapse of the public-private dichotomy. And you're seeing it come out in the most grotesque ways possible, whether it be Raphael Warnock saying, I have an obligation to a kid in Palestine, even if I don't know him, whether it be Pete Buttigieg saying that politics is soulcraft, regardless of what it might be, regardless of what example you might cling to. These aren't just nonsense statements. These are reflections of the sociocultural change that a lot of people, I think, really need to become aware of, because America was built on the public-private dichotomy. It was built on that very premise, and we're not adhering to that anymore. So that's why I think, to go back to celebrities, that's why I think you see celebrities being so politicized, because celebrities exist in the private domain. But if both domains are blended and they're mixed up together, then celebrities can easily become a voice of political interest. And just to add to that, I mean, since the 1920s, Hollywood has been infiltrated by communists and other kind of political forces. Unfortunately, the problem's not new. It's gotten worse, most certainly. And like people like Clint Eastwood and John Wayne, you don't see them rising up today, because they can't rise up today because the situation is totally different. But the fact that, Clint Eastwood's a conservative in Hollywood is fine, because he has a legacy behind him. He's a massive legend. I think he makes his own movies. They can't touch him, but they can touch someone like Scott Baio. They can touch someone like Tim Allen. They can touch these people because they don't have as much status and cachet around them. So we have to really just be keenly aware of the kind of civilizational changes that are going on here, identify them, and then address them in the best, healthiest way. And I don't hate Pink. I don't hate Billy Joe Armstrong. I'm just disappointed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we're watching current U.S. Representative Ruben Gallego from Arizona is currently a Senate candidate in a race against Carrie Lake out there. And this is going to be very interesting. Now, the next speaker we're definitely going to sit in for, which is Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Sorry, Gypsy. I mean, this one we definitely got. Just saying. But yeah, she'll be taking the stage momentarily. We're getting closer and closer to Kamala Harris's coronation as the nominee of the Democrat Party to seek the presidency of the United States. So yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting remainder of the night as far as who is up, because you've got, after Whitmer, you have Eva Longoria, American actress and film producer, Adam Kinzinger, former representative from Illinois and a Republican, Maya Harris, I believe the sister of Kamala Harris. The kickoff speech will be the Honorable Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, and then Harris will be giving her nomination speech. And this is going to be real interesting. This is going to be very, very, very interesting to watch tonight.
So when is the concert supposed to happen, the Beyonce and all that? When that's supposed to happen? When is George Bush supposed to come out?
Well, that's, at this point, they're kind of running out of time slot, because it's like, guys, if you're going to do it, you better do it soon, because you're down to a handful of speakers, and if you're going to put them in, you better do it. But then again, who knows? The logistics of this convention have just been absolutely mad. I've been maddening for people who are trying to keep up with it, because it's like they'll announce one thing and then it's just been very, at least from the outside perspective, very poorly run. I give it that. So we'll step away for a moment with Guy. Yes, sir.
Well, speaking of keeping it up, did you hear what they came out on MSNBC, where they had Pete Buttigieg, they had Waltz. So they're appealing to the low testosterone male. They said that.
Some Murgatroyd. Yeah, I heard the comment
on themselves, and I went, "Wow."
I know. I hear you.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, let me get this set up. Darius sent
Normalizing the
over.
weird, basically.
Yeah. Well, normalizing a different view of a lot of different things. Let me go ahead and get this set up while we are while we are kind of in between speakers right now. Gallego has just finished on the stage, and I believe these are veterans of military service in the Democrat Party who were on stage with him. They are now exiting, and Whitmer should be coming up next if the Democrats keep to schedule. But then again, their convention's been anything but well organized. I'll give them that much. Anyway, but yeah, we're basically waiting for the next speaker, which is supposed to be Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. And to go back to Christian's point from a little bit earlier, I also say beware Whitmer, and here she comes, the Wicked Witch of the Midwest, as I lovingly refer to her. This should be an interesting speech, so we're going to listen in on this one, folks.
I'm Governor Gretchen Whitmer. In Lansing, they call me Governor, but in Detroit, they call me Big Gretch. Donald Trump called me that woman from Michigan as an insult. Being a woman from Michigan is a badge of honor. Like women across America, we just GSD. Get stuff done. At 29, I joined the sandwich generation. Sandwiched between working and raising my newborn and caring for my mom, who was dying from brain cancer. It was hard, but not extraordinary. It's life. Those nights reminded me who I was fighting for. People just trying to make it. Kamala Harris knows who she's fighting for too. She took care of her mom, who also battled cancer. As president, she'll fight to lower the cost of health care and elder care for every family. She's lived a life like ours. She knows us. Donald Trump doesn't know you at all. You think he understands that when your car breaks down, you can't get to work? No. His first word was probably chauffeur. What? You think he's ever had to take items out of the cart before checking out? Hell, you think he's ever been to a grocery store? That's what the chauffeur is for.
This is cheesy.
But Kamala Harris, she gets us. She sees us. She is us.
That's right.
Look, we've all lived through a lot of history over the past few years. Floods and fires, an attempted coup, a plot, and
fuck you.
It's exhausting. We don't know what the next 4 years will bring. But what we do know is this. Through it all, your life won't stop. You're going to have to get to work, pick up the kids, and pay your bills. And then one day, when you're just trying to get everyone out the door, a news alert goes off. Something happened. Something hit the fan. You'll ask, is my family going to be okay? And then you'll ask, who the hell is in charge? What if it's him? What if it's that man from Mar-a-Lago?
Who's in charge now, bitch?
Yeah, who's in charge right now?
I know in a crisis, we need someone strong enough to come up with a plan, to tell the truth, and to bring people together. Right now, before the crisis, is when we get to choose.
What are we in right now?
Wouldn't we choose the leader who's tough,
Before
tested,
the crisis? What crisis?
and a total badass?
Here we are before the crisis. She said. Did you hear what she said? He said that.
This is sad.
I know who I want as our commander-in-chief. America, let's choose Kamala Harris.
Here we are before the crisis. What are you
Please
saying?
welcome
That's
actress,
very
director,
odd word
and
phrase.
philanthropist Eva Longoria.
Eva Longoria.
Yeah, sorry about that. That actually sounded intelligent when before I unmuted myself. Real quick commercial. It is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast, 9 p.m. Central. I am joined tonight by my co-host Ruben Christopher Haynes, Christian Watson, Darius Simpson. We are now rolling into the tail end of the Democrat National Convention. Currently at the podium is Eva Longoria, American actress and film producer. The following speakers will be former Representative Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, a Republican. Maya Harris, who I believe is Kamala's sister. The Honorable Roy Cooper, who's the governor of North Carolina. And then Kamala Harris will be giving her acceptance speech for the nomination. Like I say, I think personally there's a lot riding on her speech tonight, because in a campaign that's been in existence really for 3, maybe 4 weeks, yes, she's raised a lot of money. Yes, she has tried to inject a Democrat version of joy into this campaign. And yes, Christian, I saw your tweet from earlier today. It's very well written, by the way.
Thank you. Most people aren't really looking at joy in that way, so
yeah,
doing my best.
They have done a lot of things, but there's one nagging problem she's got, and this, if this is exploited correctly from a linguistic and an argument standpoint, is going to be her Achilles heel. Tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what you're going to do. We are facing serious problems monetarily. We are facing serious crises abroad. We are facing serious crises on our southern border. What are you going to do?
Right.
If she gives a speech, and again, I understand the Democrats are doing everything they can to make this convention about feel good and vibes and we're not going back and everything else. I get it. But at some point, rubber's got to meet the road here. And she's got a national stage, an uninterrupted platform to make the case of what it is she wants to do. And if she comes out of this tonight giving the speech that's equivalent of cotton candy, I think she's hurting. I mean, I'm serious here. And I'm not trying to just inject my own view onto this. Voters sooner or later are going to start demanding of her, what do you want to do?
Right.
And I just, so I say, I think there's a lot riding on this speech for her. You know, she'll be like, you know, we've got to unite. We got to move forward. We don't want to go back. Okay. Tell me what you want to do.
Well, one of the biggest questions that keep coming out too is that what has she done? I mean, she's in office right now. She's making these points about what she's going to do on day one. Well, you're in office now, and these policies that you're talking about changing and as well as implementing happen on your watch. So what are you responsible for now? What are you going to take responsibility for now? Why haven't you held your boss accountable? You probably want to listen to Crying Zinger.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Well, you know what? We will. Hang on. We're going to pop in for this, folks.
The trenches with you as part of this sometimes awkward alliance that we have to defend truth democracy and decency. I was just a kid when I was drawn to the party of Ronald Reagan, to his vision of a strong America, the shining city on a hill. I was a Republican for 12 years in Congress, and I still hold on to the label. I never thought I'd be here, but listen, you never thought you'd see me here, did you? But
no, we did.
I've learned something about the Democratic Party, and I want to let my fellow Republicans in on the secret. The Democrats are as patriotic as us.
Oh, what a fuck. What a dumb shit.
They love this country just as much as we do. And they are as eager to defend American values at home and abroad as we conservatives have ever been.
Good set of values.
I was relieved to discover that because I've learned something about my party too. Something I couldn't ignore. The Republican Party is no longer conservative. It has switched its allegiance from the principles that gave it purpose to a man whose only purpose is himself. Donald Trump is a weak man pretending to be strong. He is a small man pretending to be big. He's a faithless man pretending to be righteous. He's a perpetrator who can't stop playing the victim. He puts on, listen, he puts on quite a show, but there is no real strength there. As a conservative and a veteran, I believe true strength lies in defending the vulnerable. It's in protecting your family. It's in standing up for our Constitution and our democracy. That is the soul of being a conservative. It used to be the soul of being a Republican, but Donald Trump has suffocated the soul of the Republican Party. His fundamental weakness has coursed through my party like an illness, sapping our strength, softening our spine, whipping us into a fever that has untethered us from our values. Our democracy was frayed by the events of January 6th, as Donald Trump's deceit and dishonor led to a siege on the United States Capitol. That day, I stood witness to a profound sorrow, the desecration of our sacred tradition of peaceful transition of power, tarnished by a man too fragile, too vain, and too weak to accept defeat. How can a party claim to be patriotic if it idolizes a man who tried to overthrow a free and fair election? How can a party claim to stand for liberty if it sees a fight for freedom in Ukraine, an attack pitting tyranny against democracy, a challenge to everything our nation claims to be, and it retreats, it equivocates, it nominates a man who is weirdly obsessed with Putin? And his running mate who said, quote, "I don't care what happens in Ukraine."
I don't care.
Yeah, and he wants to be vice president. Yeah. How can a party claim to be conservative when it tarnishes the gifts that our forebears fought for? Men like my grandfather, who served in World War II, who believed in a cause bigger than himself, and he risked his life for it behind enemy lines. To preserve American democracy, his generation found the courage to face down armies. Listen, all we're asked to do is to summon the courage to stand up to one weak man. Some have questioned why I've taken the stand I have. The answer is really simple, ladies and gentlemen. We must put country first. And tonight, as a Republican speaking before you, I'm putting our country first. Because the fact is, I do belong here. I know Kamala Harris shares my allegiance to the rule of law, the Constitution, and democracy. And she is dedicated to upholding all three in service to our country. Whatever policies we disagree on pale in comparison with those fundamental matters of principle, of decency, and of fidelity to this nation. Listen, to my fellow Republicans, if you still pledge allegiance to those principles, I suspect you belong here too. Because democracy knows no party. It's a living, breathing ideal that defines us as a nation. It's the bedrock that separates us from tyranny. And when that foundation is fractured, we must all stand together, united, to strengthen it. If you think those principles are worth defending, then I urge you, make the right choice. Vote for our bedrock values and vote for Kamala Harris. God bless you.
And that was former U.S. Representative Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, Republican, speaking at the Democrat National Convention. And there's a tradition in American politics where members of the opposite party will speak at the other's convention. We're going to step away for just 1 second because we've got some breaking news, and I want to pop this up on screen for anyone. And this has to do with the RFK Jr. story. Give me just a moment, and I will put this up here. Nick Sortor has it out, and I will put this up in just 1 second. Here we go. Breaking. RFK Jr. has withdrawn his name from the ballot in Arizona. This comes just 1 day before he is set to drop out and supposedly endorse Donald Trump. Now, keep in mind, this is still up for grabs because according to Jack Posobiec, editor over at Human Events, there is apparently a tension going on inside the RFK campaign right now. His running mate, Nicole Shanahan, at least according to Posobiec's sources, is saying that she, as his running mate, would like to see RFK Jr. drop out and endorse Trump, whereas RFK Jr.'s wife, actress Cheryl Hines, is saying, okay, just drop out, fall off the ballot in the states, make no endorsement. Now, what happens tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern remains to be seen, but this was brought to my attention. I thought I'd put it out here for consumption. So, okay, he's taking himself off the. If this reporting is correct, he's taking himself off the ballot of one of the biggest swing states in the country that's out there coming or going right now. So, thoughts for what it's worth while we're waiting for our next speaker?
Well, I just think it ain't over till the fat lady sings, as they say. So until RFK comes out, and that's what I said after I heard his VP select the person he chose as his VP. When she came out and said, I said, man, if she's saying this, maybe he has given her the green light. They've had conversations about it. So I said, I'll wait till he comes out and confirms or denies. So we'll see.
Could be. Yeah, could very well be. And again, this is Maya Harris, the sister for Vice President Kamala Harris, speaking currently. The next speaker after her will be North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, who will give the introductory speech to Vice President Kamala Harris on the night that she will accept the nomination of the Democrat Party to run for the presidency of the United States. It is currently 10:20 Eastern. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. I'm joined by my co-hosts Ruben Christopher Haynes, Darius Simpson, and Christian Watson. This is going to be, like I said, I know I keep saying it, but this to me is going to be a very interesting speech she's got to give.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, she's got a lot riding on this. So
50-50 chance she's going to talk policy, 50-50 chance she's going to make it all about Trump.
That's a good question.
I
think she's going to lean toward making it all about you need to vote for me because I'm not Donald Trump. Because in the end, that's what this convention is about. It really is.
Yeah,
we're not Donald Trump, and maybe I'm old fashioned or maybe I'm naive, but I'm sorry. People want to vote for something. They don't want to vote against something.
Right.
I don't think, and again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just naive about this or just old fashioned, but I just don't see how saying vote for me because I'm not nearly as big a schmuck as the other guy is going to get you across the finish line.
Right.
Not when you've got the kind of economic problems that the United States has right now and foreign policy. And when it's now being revealed every day that some piece of news that the government's been telling us for the past 3.5 years is just absolute, let me use his word, malarkey.
Right, exactly.
I just don't see how she, I mean, they'll try and do it. They will try and do it for 75 days. Convince everybody that joy is sufficient for why you want a president. I say no. Give me the drunk that knows how to win a war. And if you don't know the analogy I'm referring to, when Lincoln picked Grant to lead the Union Army, his aides turned and said to him, "Well, sir, General Grant's reputed to drink." Lincoln said, "I don't care what he's drinking. Get a barrel of it. Go send it to every general I've got. But go get me Grant. The man knows how to fight." And no, true story. True story.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's the question. I mean, do you go out and get someone? Do you bring back Trump, or do you continue on with 4 more years of what you've had, trying to convince everybody that the person who was there for the 4 years, giving you the things you don't like, is going to give you 4 years of better, but has been there for 4 years to create the situations that you've got.
And that's the interesting thing. Right. That's the interesting thing. You do have a tale of two presidencies. You have Trump's presidency. So we don't just have him here saying, we don't have to speculate. Then you have Biden-Harris administration. You don't have to speculate. You can actually compare apples to apples and see what transpired during their presidencies and go from there.
And North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is about to take the stage. Will be giving the introductory remarks for Vice President Kamala Harris. We're going to go back to the stage and listen in.
Hello, America. I'm Roy Cooper, the last guy standing between you and the moment we're all waiting for.
The end of the convention.
So I'm going to get right to it. All week, you've heard stories about my friend Kamala. I want to take you behind the scenes of one of them. 2011 was a rough time for American homeowners. Hundreds of thousands were losing their homes to illegal foreclosure. I was Attorney General in North Carolina, while Kamala had just become California's. All the AGs were close to a settlement with the big banks, and it was a pretty good deal. Would have meant $4 billion for California families who'd been ripped off. I know that sounds like a lot, but Kamala said, hang on a minute. I've met these families. I know what they've been through, and they deserve more. She went toe-to-toe with some of the world's most powerful executives, and she refused to give in. Let me tell you, this was a huge risk, but she knew it was a risk worth taking. That's Kamala. And we all know what happened. The banks caved. That $4 billion for California families became $20 billion. That was the first time I witnessed Kamala in action. And what I saw was a leader who does exactly what she says she's going to do, who never will settle for less. America, we got a lot of big fights ahead of us, and we've got one hell of a fighter ready to take them on. I know that,
I know that because I know her. And tonight, I want the American people to know, even if you don't agree with her on everything, Kamala Harris will fight for you to the very end. For families who need better health care or a safer place to live, Kamala will fight for you. For parents who want better schools for their kids, for workers worried about a secure retirement for themselves, Kamala will fight for you. For any one of our allies anywhere in the world wondering if America still has your back, remember this: Kamala will fight for you. And when she fights, we win. Kamala's ready. Kamala's ready. The question is, are we? Are we going to stand up and fight for Kamala like she'll stand up and fight for us? All right. If you're ready, my home state of North Carolina, stand up. Stand up, Pennsylvania. Stand up, Michigan. Stand up, Wisconsin. Stand up, Georgia. Stand up, Nevada. Stand up, Arizona. Stand up, America. Are we going to stand up? Are we going to fight? Are we going to vote? Are we going to win? You bet we are. Let's go get them.
She grew up in a tight-knit neighborhood. It was the kind of place where your neighbor would look after you when school let out, where your first grade teacher would show up at your law school graduation. It's where Kamala Harris learned what it means to be in the middle class, making every paycheck count. She was raised by a working mom who taught her about standing up for what's right and protecting the people you love.
Kamala carries the lessons of our mother, the fighting spirit of our mother, the compassion.
She was all of 5 feet tall. If you met her, you would have thought she was 7 feet tall. And our mother, if I'd ever come home complaining about anything, she wouldn't have it. The first thing she'd say is, well, just stop the complaining. Just tell me what you're going to do about it.
And since she was a young girl, Kamala Harris has been fighting for families like the ones she grew up with.
That is Kamala. She can't help herself from standing up for people and standing up for what she thinks is right. She has been that way our whole lives. Being a protector is what led her to become a prosecutor. Looking back now, I could say it was her calling.
As a courtroom prosecutor, she went after predators who targeted women and children, and fraudsters who ripped off working families. And she put dangerous gang members and human traffickers behind bars.
We didn't have partnerships with DOJ or FBI or DEA or any of those law enforcement agencies. Now we all work collaboratively. She was the person who built the foundation in how we do criminal justice in America.
As Attorney General of California, she held the big Wall Street banks accountable for fraud, winning $20 billion for California families. She took on one of the largest for-profit colleges that was scamming students. And in the Senate, she fought for her constituents with the determination of a prosecutor, standing up for reproductive freedom.
Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
She fought to keep our children safe from the terror of gun violence.
How many of you guys had to have a drill where you learned about how you need to hide in a closet or crouch in a corner in the event that there is a mass shooter? Look at that. Look at that.
On the Intelligence Committee, she defended our nation against foreign adversaries. And in 2020, she made history as the first woman to be elected vice president of the United States. She cast the tie-breaking vote to deliver urgent relief to the American people during the pandemic. She beat Big Pharma to lower prescription drug costs and cap the cost of insulin. and led the fight to restore reproductive rights after Roe v. Wade was overturned.
We have worked too hard and fought too long to see our daughters grow up in a world with fewer rights than our mothers.
Because she's never been afraid to stand up to powerful interests.
Sometimes people will open the door for you and leave it open. Sometimes they won't. And then you need to kick that door down. Excuse my language.
Now, she's running for president, still fighting for families like the one she grew up with.
Our campaign is about saying we trust the people. We're saying we just want fairness. We want dignity for all people. And we are a work in progress. We haven't yet quite reached all of those ideals, but we will die trying because we love our country. We believe in our country. We're not falling for these folks who are trying to divide us, trying to pull us apart. We know what we stand for, and we stand for the people, and we stand for the dignity of work, and we stand for freedom. We stand for justice. We stand for equality. And so we will fight for all of it.
That's who Kamala Harris is. That's what she believes, and that's what she'll fight for every day.
Just cutting that out to keep YouTube happy, folks. Don't worry, we're going back to the stage momentarily.
That's Beyonce singing, I think.
I believe you're right. I believe you are right. So, just basically waiting for the music to end, and we will.
But still, everything is so canned.
I know.
United States of America, Kamala Harris.
Where's that word there? Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's right.
A lot is riding on this speech, folks.
Boo.
And believe me, there might be a lot of smiles, a lot of clapping, but I really wouldn't want to be in her shoes right now.
I'm gonna treat you just like I did with Obama. I'm gonna listen to what you have to say.
No, I'll listen. I'm just saying she's got a lot riding on this one.
Yep. So we'll see what they wrote out here.
Just basically waiting for the music to die down, and then we'll take it back to the stage. No, folks, believe me, there's no alcohol in here. Although, if we did a drinking game with a shot for every time there's word freedom or the expression not going back,
oh
God, there'd be a lot of people in AA right now.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the acceptance speech of Vice President Kamala Harris. The acceptance speech, the coronation of efforts that she has engaged in for 5 years to become her party's nominee. A road of many twists and turns. Yes, I agree with that statement from her. She is now the nominee of a party in which no one ever voted for her in a primary. No one ever voted for her in a caucus. She is the installed candidate of one of the two major political parties. And yet, despite the fact that she is installed by undemocratic means for the past roughly, call it 45 minutes, she has stood before the nation and espoused her love and her desire to defend democracy. This speech is definitely going to be worth talking about. We're going to keep an eye up here for a few moments. My other hosts are no doubt scribbling down their last bit of note. This is going to be fascinating to watch. So, Christian, since you are on camera, I'll go ahead and throw it to you first. Yeah, is about the. I'm gonna save my. I'm gonna save the artillery I've got loaded in the cannon until the end. I'm gonna let you three go first, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this speech.
Well, a few things. So before I get into what she talked about, let's talk about what she didn't talk about.
Okay.
I didn't hear a lot of emphasis in the speech on gun control. She said that she wanted people to be free from gun violence or whatever, but that was like the high end of it. She didn't talk very much about gun control. I didn't hear very much in the speech about healthcare. And that was one of the. So my guess is her political consultants must have told her these are the topics we're going to want you to avoid, because on both of those topics, Kamala Harris has professed positions that a lot of Americans might find objectionable. And my thesis is kind of strengthened by the fact that at the beginning of the speech, she said, I know there are people of different political beliefs watching this. So this speech, okay, whenever you make a speech, whenever you're making a presentation, the number one cardinal rule of every speaker, every orator is know your audience. And she knew the audience she was talking to. She wasn't talking to the people in that room necessarily. She was talking to the undecided voters. She was talking to the on-the-fence Republicans who have apprehensions about Donald Trump, the never Trump crowd. She was talking to independents who may not have made up their mind. And in doing that, she avoided some of the pitfalls that if I were her political consultant, I would have wanted her to avoid. But also in doing that, she did something else. In avoiding talking about some of those key issues, she avoided telling us the full scope of who she is as a politician and as a leader, because those are issues that she's campaigned on in the past. Those are issues that she's passionate about. Those are issues that she's talked about in her time in the Senate. So obviously there's much more to the Kamala project than what she's letting on. But for the purposes of this speech, she let people see what she thought would curry the votes of those who are on the fence. Now, what's going to be interesting is going to be able to see how this messaging changes as the campaign progresses. Because as audiences change, her rhetoric is going to change. That is probably the most, I think, unimportant thing I'm going to say tonight. So please ignore everything I just said. It's not important. What's more important is what I think she said and what that actually implies. So the right can no longer say, Kamala has not told us about her policies. She just told you a bunch of stuff. Now, the problem is, a lot of the stuff that she said is a little bit concerning. So I have a bunch of things here, and I'll go down the list. First, she said that she's going to sign in the border bill that Donald Trump helped kill, without acknowledging that that border bill actually wouldn't have fixed the situation. And that border bill was a big boondoggle in and of itself, which is why one of the reasons why Trump said to kill it. She didn't actually expound upon the benefits of that particular piece of legislation. That I've gone through it, and I looked at the criticisms, I looked at the support of it, and the honest truth was the Democrats didn't want to actually handle the situation, so they did a half measure. The Republicans in the Senate didn't want to do a half measure, and therefore they rejected it. And so now this is being taken to say that somehow Republicans don't want to secure the border, and she's going to go ahead and do that. So if she actually does do that, if she becomes president, she's going to end up with another fight on her hands, which is going to kind of defy the unifying picture she's painted tonight. Another thing she said that was actually quite concerning is that she's going to stand by our NATO allies, and she's going to stand up to dictators like President like Xi Jinping and President Putin. So this sounds good to most people, because when you look at this, and I talk a lot about political symbols. Right? What is a political symbol? A political symbol is a concept or a word whose meaning is imprecise, but whose effect is felt by the people who interact with it. So, for example, freedom is a political symbol. Patriotism is a political symbol. The flag is a political symbol. The middle class is a political symbol. You know, the elite is a political symbol. There's all these different kinds of symbols that influence the milieu of American thought in the modern world. In these symbols, since they are so variously interpreted by different people with different sets of beliefs and ideas mean different things to different people, and therefore they can be leveraged differently by different people with different intentions in different projects. And so when you I understand her comment about internationalism, about NATO within the context of political symbols. Russia is a political symbol. China is a political symbol. North Korea is a political symbol. All of the BRICS nations are a political symbol because the BRICS nations directly challenge Western hegemony, and they directly challenge the amount of power people like the Atlantic Council and the UN and NATO have over geopolitical matters. NATO was established as a defensive pact at the end of World War II, as a sort of concretization of the post-war consensus, as a defensive pact to stop the rise of another Hitler. It's devolved into a few things. Number one, a glorified mafia that essentially pushes countries around at a whim at the direction of the UN. Number two, it has devolved into this sort of destabilizing force that goes in on behest of both financial interest and on behest of the self-interested political interests of some of its leaders, and takes control of certain territories and then leaves them in disarray. Libya is a very good example. Iraq is a very good example. NATO is nothing more than, I think, the end result of internationalism and the end result. Oh, by the way, another thing, NATO is also entirely a functionary of the US dollar because a majority of NATO is funded by the US dollar. So while Europe goes ahead and funds their socialist policies, Europe is a functionary of the US dollar. That means US hegemony is NATO. So NATO is a political symbol that actually means the United States. When she says, I'm going to stand with NATO, she's not saying she's going to stand with NATO. She's saying, I'm going to assert American dominance over the world because NATO is the United States, practically. Without us, it means nothing. Okay, so when you examine this within the scope of political symbols, what you're seeing here is not a comment about the evils of authoritarianism or the evils of dictators. You're hearing a comment about an assertion of power, a power struggle, but she just deceived everybody by placating it within the context of symbolism and in the context of NATO versus Xi Jinping. Do you know how much the United States economy is reliant on China? They're in the top 3 of our trading partners. If China were to say tomorrow, we're shutting off all American industry, our economy collapses. There is no war with Xi Jinping. There is a conceptual war. There's a symbolic war. And yes, China is a threat, and we shouldn't be so dependent on them. But practically speaking, there is no war with Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping is one of our biggest sugar daddies, and we're one of his biggest sugar daddies. So practically speaking, when you understand these things, and Trump understood these things, you can't reduce the situation to simply standing up to dictators. No, because the situation is far more complex than that. For the past 50, 60 years, Americans have been taught to hate Russians. Americans have been taught to hate any country that organizes themselves differently than our country. Now, we've been more than just taught that. Our foreign policy has embodied that. And every single turn, whenever a situation seems to be calming down with Russia or with China, something else flares up. And that is due to the activities of the CIA and other people who have an interest in drawing divisions.
Agreed.
So the point is this. Kamala Harris is not addressing geopolitics. See, in international relations school, they teach you about geopolitical realism. They'll teach you about the Grotian tradition of international law. They'll teach you about all these things that most people have never even heard of. And these are the ideas that ultimately influence how some of the top people at the top of these institutions actually operate. Well, Harris probably doesn't know much about those ideas. Even if she does, she's operating from an uninformed viewpoint within one of those categories. So my suspicion is that Harris, if she got into office, would probably be a agent of whatever geopolitical interest she surrounded herself with. Whoever her joint chief of staff is, whatever they believe, she would be a willing agent for their belief. And this kind of language, this kind of looseness with the foreign policy makes her really vulnerable to compromise in that way. I'll close with this. The funding of Israel thing. So I can't truly criticize her for this because Donald Trump has the same problem. And this is a problem that I think we really need to talk about on the right. I can recognize that there are civilizational affinities between the United States and Israel. But what I don't like is when American politicians talk about their Israeli policy as if they owe something to a country that is not our country. Donald Trump talks about Israel as if he owes something to them, even though they are not our country. Kamala Harris talks about Israel as if she owes something to them, even though they are not our country. Israel, the Israeli-United States alliance, is the embodiment of an entangling alliance. And few people want to talk about that. Very few folks want to talk about that. But I'll go even deeper. The Israeli-American alliance is the embodiment of a phenomenon that causes a problem that is wholly artificial. Because right now, Israel is emboldened by the almost unconditional American support that people like Antony Blinken and Joe Biden and even Donald Trump and others have given them. People may complain that Israel is not getting enough support under Biden. They are. They most definitely are. I was just listening to a bunch of hearings today, and there was a situation where a Palestinian girl in her home was blown up by IDF forces and she was killed. And for 11 months, they've been trying to get the Biden administration, the State Department, to actually give a statement on this and an update on that, on how they're pushing Israel to handle the situation, and they've not been able to get an update. I'm not confident that President Trump would get much of an update either on that situation. This is an embodiment, and so Israel is enabled and feels emboldened by this, and for that reason, they behave in the region in an unwise way. They kill people on foreign soil. They kill people in Iran. They kill people in Lebanon. They behave with such wanton disregard for geopolitical relations because they expect America to continue handing them over a blank check. I'm not, look, I am one of the biggest allies of Jewish people. I think that anti-Semitism is horrible and it's horrific, but I don't think that the relationship between America and Israel has it all to do with anti-Semitism and everything to do with hegemony in the Middle East. And for that reason, in my opinion, we should really reconsider giving any money to. First of all, I want all foreign aid to be gone. I don't think any of it's legitimate. I think all foreign aid to all countries, including Taiwan, who some people on the right say we have to defend Taiwan. No, we don't. No, we don't. We really don't have to defend Taiwan. We have the ability to make what they make in Taiwan right here at home. But the problem is we're simply not putting in the effort. The CHIPS Act wasn't good enough. There's so much this we could do to actually innovate American semiconductor manufacturing. We don't have to defend Taiwan. If it was up to me, I'll leave Taiwan to Xi Jinping. In fact, I would actually make a deal with him and sign them over if it meant stopping him from doing some other things. Similar to how Vivek Ramaswamy talked about making a deal with Russia to sign over Ukraine. That's perfectly fine with me because it ultimately, number one, decreases tensions in the world. It stops a potential catastrophe in World War III from happening. And it actually brings us forth to some level of cooperation, which is always better than the alternative. But Kamala Harris's foreign policy is going to be a war hawk foreign policy, obviously, and that deeply concerns me at several levels. So I've talked too much. I have much more to say, as always, but I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let others speak.
Well, I'm going to do one thing just at a request. And this is not meant to start a fight between you and anybody in the audience, but I just want you to see the contrarian view that's out there. The comment being, we do owe something to Israel because they are founded under the same God as America is. The Judeo-Christian heritage is what must be protected.
I used to believe that. I used to believe that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I used to believe no. And by the way, biblical Israel and modern day Israel are two different things.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
A lot of Christians get that conflict.
Overall, yeah, I would agree with that. And as far as the basic principle of it, and no, we're not going to turn this to a theological discussion, but on that premise, I still believe, I do hold to that fact that from the vantage point, I believe of God's vantage point, be it modern day Israel in terms of how he originally founded, especially the land of Israel, the capital being Jerusalem. There is a case. Matter of fact, I just looked it up while you was talking, Christian. And again, I know we may differ on this and so forth, and that's fine. But there's a book that was written by a gentleman by the name of William Koenig or Koenig, however he pronounces it. It's called Eye to Eye, Facing the Consequences of Dividing Israel. And I think it's an interesting read. He goes back in history that anytime United States presidents caused Israel to either be divided, the land to be divided, or anything of that nature, America faced some catastrophic events most recent for us, in my opinion, goes back to 2005 when Katrina hit under George Bush. And so, in terms of now, I'm definitely aware not all Jews believe in the God of the Bible. I get that. So, and teach his own on that. But in terms of how God founded the nation of Israel, in terms of in the purest sense, regardless of the time, the age, in the purest sense, is my firm conviction that I still stand with Israel. I believe, as far as the founding fathers is concerned, that the country itself was founded on Judeo principles. But again, since the Bible was not made constitutional, this is holistically is not per se a at least constitutionally, it's not a God country. So, but anyway, again, I want to get caught up in that too much. I was going to address that based on my personal convictions, but holistically, yeah, Israel is not the way God originally defined it, but he is at the same time, he definitely still protects the nation of Israel.
Yeah, I'll add one little bit to that just to clarify, because I know, and I'm sorry, Brian, I just wanted to clarify.
That's fine.
Just because I know some folks may watch this and they may think, oh, Christian, I didn't know. Because for a long time on my channel, I was incredibly pro-Israel. Like, look at what I said immediately after October 7th. I said, you know what? Palestine is illegitimate. It is historically illegitimate. Israel originally has historical claim to all of that land. I think that Israel needs to go and take out Hamas through any means necessary. I was saying some pretty crazy stuff that, I kind of regret, but I'm leaving that video up just so people can see my progression. But on a civilizational level, I have a lot of sympathies with Israel, especially compared to a lot of the countries surrounding it. Most of the countries surrounding it are Islamic theocracies who have no respect for humanity, who have an incorrect view of God, who have a totalizing view of God, who have an incorrect view of their relationship with the divine. Jihad is not a correct view of your relationship with the divine. The divine does not urge you into forcing people to worship him. The divine urges you maybe into evangelism if you're a Christian, but not into war, not into brutality in his name. If God was a God of war and brutality solely, he has those elements to him, but that's not all he is, then there wouldn't have been any need for the law, if you're a Christian, to be abolished and the Messiah to come, because there's plenty of that in the Old Testament. Sure. So I just think Islam is theologically corrupt. There are many nice Muslims. There are some in my family. God bless them. I think Islam is a absolutely dangerous religion, and the way those countries are run is incredibly disastrous and devastating. So on that viewpoint, Israel is obviously the best place. If I were to move to the Middle East, I wouldn't go to the UAE or Dubai. I would go right to Israel, right to Tel Aviv. And I also, though, I don't believe that Israel is committing genocide. That's another thing. A lot of folks say Israel's committing genocide. That's not the case. I think that, unfortunately, a lot of innocent people are dying because it's war. And ideally, I don't want there to be any war. I want there to be a ceasefire. But Hamas has to play ball, and they don't want to play ball. They just bailed out of the peace talks a few days ago. So it's a very complicated issue. And I'm not someone that points at Israel and says Israel's evil, Israel, because a lot of people on the right are doing that. And I'm not at all in favor of that. I just think, as it relates to United States participation with Israel, we have to ensure that our values and our needs are met first, before the needs of other countries are subordinate to those values. That's my whole point about Israel. So
I get that. I agree.
Darius, to the speech by Vice President Harris, her acceptance speech, your thoughts?
All I heard in this speech was the Great Reset. I was waiting for the moment, like some of our commenters here. I was waiting for the moment when she would invoke the name of Trump in order to explain a way, or basically use him, as a springboard to what her policy really is going to be about. It's going to be totally and completely anti-Trump. It was not an inspiring message, in my opinion. It's basically the same talking points they have had leading up to this very moment. I think she's the people who were there. And like Christian said as well, she was definitely not just talking to the base that was there. You could definitely get that tone. She's trying to reach across the aisle a little bit to the undecideds and so on. But the core of the message is to me, again, is they're going to fundamentally change the scope of America given the first opportunity they get. I mean, I'm summarizing it. I think Christian did a great job of breaking it down. So from that standpoint, but for me, summarizing it, there's a very scary view of America coming from this lady.
Okay, Ruben.
Trump, I'm following what Trump said, and Laura Loomer said something else very important. But when I heard her speech, it was nothing. It was emptiness. It was platitudes. Everything she's been talking about, everything that the convention has been talking about, it leaves it wide open. But again, I agree with Christian also, because again, that's what Trump just mentioned about the aspect of using NATO or using America as the arm of gunboat diplomacy, basically. We're bringing that back again. Doing another Vietnam and all that stuff. And basically, Trump basically said right now, he says this will lead us to World War III, and it's going to be horrific. It's a nuclear. We have to again. Trump has said this so many times when he's talking to people that he is afraid of the nuclear option, and he sees this happening, and we are dangerously close to this because, again, there are some people that think that we can do tactical, nuclear weapons. No, it's all destructive, and it sickens me. That's basically it. But that's what I'm saying. The speech goes nowhere. I don't know what they're going to do, because she said nothing that inspired anybody. It was about I'm gonna do it for you. And Laura Loomer said it best. I got to read what she said. Let me read this real quick. She said, "While watching Kamala's speech tonight, remember that a hooker and prostitute will tell you anything you want to hear, as long as you're the one paying." Kamala Harris started on her knees and won't stop until you are left on your knees. So again, destroying America. That's Laura Loomer. I had to say that.
Crazy image, but I believe it 100%. I mean, this is incredible. Like, I mean, I think we all have sensed this since day one of since the beginning of the week. This country is on the brink of something very new, but it's not just going to stop here. This is going to spread globally.
Great.
Yeah, we're on the precipice of something big. Two ways of society are coming to a clash. Transhumanism, secularism, collectivism versus individual freedom. And again, we're in the battle on many fronts, culturally, with movies, entertainment, news, and how it is biased one way or another. Books and literature, how they're doing it. Society, smaller subcultures coming in. Again, I do not care what you do with your body. I don't care who you love and whatever like that. It's just you have to. The parents have to have some authority when they are basically saying, no, the government is the authority over our citizens, not the parent. That's the nature of it all. That's how it boils down to. And put edicts out there where you have, where you can transition a kid at such a young age, or they can have an abortion. They go around and do this. There are some responsibilities that you have to have these morals to set up. I know it's a throwback, but save yourself when you're married. Have some dignity for yourself. We're not doing that. We're not having dignity anymore. We're basically saying, "Oh, you're the cancer. Men, go get a vasectomy," and they did that there. Or women, you could have as many abortions as you want. Because life doesn't matter. That's a clump of cells. This is where it really bothers me, is where they will protect the puffer fish in whatever location for a sanctuary, not a child. Or it has been going on for a while, but it's just very, very disturbing. But again, this is all on purpose to change how the society operates. And it's there's the theory of the 80-year timeline. Where you have the rise in the 60s, the highs in the 70s, the crash, and it's just a cycle again. We're at that cycle again coming through. 2024, the last one was 44, and then 18. The great Civil War we had, then World War II, but it all builds up, and now we're having it again. What are we gonna do? It's just, again, we're at the moment now. But what she said tonight was just nothing. She talked about herself. She talked about what she's done as a prosecutor, but not as a vice president. Nothing. She didn't say anything she's accomplished as vice president. And then she went ahead what she's going to do, and it's very, very broad, general terms about we're doing this together. I'm going to take care of NATO. We're going to do this and lead the fight against these dictators. What about peace? There's no.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no appetite for peace.
Yeah. For my part, I get the first part of the speech I have no problem with, where she is introducing herself to the American people. I think that was smart. I love the way it was done, to be perfectly frank. From an oratorical perspective, I thought it was brilliantly done. But the moment in that first 10 minutes or so, the line that got me the most was, in the name, every case that I brought as a prosecutor, I did in the name of the people, not the individual harmed. And the next line was, harm against one is a harm against all. No, the law recognizes individual responsibility and individual consequence for actions. You are not punishing, you're not preserving or protecting a society. You are bringing justice against an individual. Now, the next part of the speech, to me, everybody talks about the fact that Joe Biden dropped out of the campaign. I don't think he dropped out of the campaign. I think he just put on a wig and a set of high heels and went out and gave a speech tonight. Because frankly, somebody explain to me how everything past that intro is not any speech that Joe Biden otherwise has not given in the past 18 months when he was running for re-election or at any point during his presidency. The irony that struck me the most is, after she got through with the introduction, was we have the opportunity to move past bitterness, cynicism, and divisiveness. And for the remainder of her speech, she engaged in bitterness, cynicism, and divisiveness. It just absolutely amazing. It just almost immediately after the intro of herself, it's Donald Trump is unserious. Donald Trump, January 6th, Donald Trump is a convicted felon. He wants to jail political opponents and journalists, deploy the military against citizens. We are not going to let him cut Social Security and the Department of Education and the Affordable Care Act. Forward to a strong and growing middle class, the opportunity economy. How? And again, I agree with Christian. She's trying to reach out to the middle on this. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. But if that was her aim, and I don't know how anybody else feels about this, respectfully, this isn't going to do it. This speech is nothing any different than what Joe Biden could have otherwise done himself, which sort of begs the question. If all she's going to do is give the speech that Joe Biden could otherwise give, why in the infernal regions of Dante's hell is Joe Biden not in this race? Because there's fundamentally no difference. If this is her coming out party, if this is her explaining to the American people why it was so necessary for me to be your party's nominee to be president, then I'm sorry, there's not an ounce of reason in the world why this woman ought to be running for president, because frankly, Joe Biden could have given the exact same speech and it would have had the same effect. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, I agree. It's a pro neoconservative foreign policy. We're going to back Ukraine. We're going to keep on doing the same old thing we're doing. I do think, however, I will give her credit for this. Touching back on a little bit on the Israel comments. Okay, you've told everybody where you stand, and you just put at risk Michigan, Minnesota, potentially New Jersey, and maybe New York. Which also begs another interesting question. If she's so stand with Israel, why isn't Josh Shapiro on this ticket? Because that's about as pro-Israel as you can get. Mm-hmm. And yet they won't put him on the ticket. I just feel like this speech is going to fall flat. It's not going to serve her in the long run. I mean, look, I was looking for detail like everybody else here. I think a lot of people on the political right, and I think we all agree she's not going to give it. She's going to give you a platitude. She will give you a broad outline. She will give you a political symbol. Okay. But if people are trying to figure out what she wants to do, and maybe this is enough. Maybe we've reached the point as an American society where, she can give up there, dispense the equivalent of cotton candy and it's enough. If it is, I'm really saddened. But no, I'm serious.
Interesting. They're reporting right now that the Beyonce appearance was a ruse.
Really?
Yeah, Laura Loomer basically said that TMZ was told that Beyonce was going to be there, so Democrats put it out there so that people would watch the speech to get a bit more numbers.
Oh, more lies and propaganda, huh?
Again, TMZ basically is pissed off that they leaked it. That they were going to be. That's why we put it out there.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The Democrat Party did, not TMZ, but the Democrats.
Hey, I know. Hey, look, it's a political ploy. They're engaging in politics. If you want to get your plumbing fixed, do you call a carpenter? No, you call a plumber. You want to do politics? You do something political. Is it right? No, it's not right, but
not ethical either.
Yeah, effective to what they want to do. I just don't think this speech helps her. I just don't. To me, it's hate. I mean, it's the very thing she said that she didn't want to be. An era where we could choose to stand against divisiveness, cynicism, and then for the remainder of the speech, the next 40 minutes, that's all she did. And again, Joe Biden could have given this speech.
Right.
And he may as well have, which frankly, I would love right now to be a fly on the wall out in California to hear Joe Biden's reaction to this speech. If he even chose to watch it. If he even chose to watch the thing, if he's still that angry, that's a really good question. Or is he going to watch it tomorrow? I'd love to know what his reaction was, because frankly, I can just see him turning to Jill and go, "I could have given the speech."
Yeah, I could have given it to you. I could have. I really could have.
Yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts. So if anybody wants to tee off on any of that, go for it. That's fine. If you want to disagree with me, fine. I'm not going to be offended one way or the other.
No, I agree. I mean, it was not awe-inspiring. It didn't have. Again, I didn't know what to 100% expect. It was 50-50 this or 50-50 that. But I'm not moved personally about it. I don't think it's going to really move the needle. We'll see what's going to play in the media stream over the next few days to see how much the mainstream media builds it up. Little Fox is going to tear it up. But Trump just did a little phone call with Fox, giving his take of it. So I'm gonna definitely check that out probably tomorrow. Okay. But I think he's spot on. Joe Biden definitely, with the backdrop and all. She had the lit up scene. Joe probably would have had the red and the black scene back there behind him. And yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, with that, I want to thank, and again, I mean, in all seriousness, I said at the beginning of the live stream tonight, I want to thank each of you for your contributions this week and the time you put in, because I know you have lives and social media channels of your own, but thank you very much for being here and for every contribution that you've made. So I'll tell you what, let's take it around the horn and we'll wrap it up. Christian, what have you got coming up? What's going on? Where can people find you and how can they best help you out?
Well, we've got a few interesting things coming up. So I've been telling you guys over the past few days, I'm going to talk about Lord of the Rings. Well, recent news has pushed that off. And so I'm actually going to be doing a dissection of joy tomorrow. I did that on Twitter today. You saw it, Brian. I'm going to go even more in depth than I did on Twitter. So it's going to be a very, very important video. I think that more people need to understand what these things really mean for what they are. I also have a few interesting interviews lined up. We have a few folks from the UK coming in over the next few weeks to give us a take on what's happening in their country. So I'm really focused on that issue because that's going to impact us. Especially if Kamala happens to win, it's going to especially impact us. We could see influencer expedition things start to happen. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but it could happen. And so we have to be very careful about that. But other than that, I'm just chugging along. I'm keeping the faith. I'm staying inspired, and I'm working hard. So you can find me at Official C Watson on Twitter and at Pensa Politics on YouTube. And I got to run, but thank you so much for having me, Brian.
I understand.
Thank you so much, Darius and Ruben, for being here. Everyone for watching. I hope all of you have a nice night. Okay.
Likewise.
Thank you very much. The great Christian Watson, ladies and gentlemen. Ruben, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you got coming up in the near future? What do you got cooking? Where can people support you? What can they do to help you out?
Find me on Rumble, YouTube, X. Doing a lot on X is where I basically am pushing everything out regarding what we have to do. I'm just still recovering. It's getting tired. Need to rest, but just follow me and just put things out there regarding my journey right now. I'm just in recovery for the last, 3 weeks now. Shit. So just follow me and we'll talk soon, guys.
All right. Darius.
You can find me on YouTube and Rumble. I'm still working on my Rumble channel. Get some more videos up here pretty soon. But I've just really enjoyed. I took a break from that to just enjoy fellowship with my new friends here. Boy, it's been a very eventful week. I'm also on Instagram and on Twitter. Look me up, Real Talk with Darius. I put my handles up later, but just generally, you can find me on the Real Talk. Well, basically, we just talk about relevant issues.
Very good. I want to thank you guys again. I want to thank Christian Watson, Daniel De La Fay, everybody in chat, both on Rumble and YouTube. You guys have been an absolutely amazing audience, and I mean that in all sincerity. I know I gush on you guys all the time, but you are the best audience on the internet, period, hands down. I'll take you guys every day and twice on Sunday. For myself, I've got something very special coming up this Saturday at 12 noon. It was going to be Friday, but due to a previous engagement by my guest, he needed to reschedule, and we've worked it out. This coming Saturday at 12 noon, 11 a.m. Eastern, the legendary John Cass, formerly of the Chicago Tribune. He is now the proprietor of John Cass News. He is also a podcaster hosting a show called The Chicago Way. We are going to sit down for a 1-hour live interview, 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, and I am over the moon about the possibility for this interview because John Cass, I mean, the word legend is thrown around way too casually.
Right.
John Cass has been around a long time in Chicago. Has covered city politics, state politics. He's a nationally syndicated columnist. He's still writing and just enjoying life to the best and most of his ability. And his story of his departure from the Chicago Tribune to where he is now is fascinating. And I'm dying to get his take on a whole bunch of different things. So again, that's this Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. You can find me on Rumble, on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to my channels, please do so. You can find me on Twitter at The Front Porch C1. I want to thank everybody again, hosts and chat. You guys have been fantastic. We will be back on my channel at noon on Saturday. Thank you guys ever so much. Gentlemen, hang around for a second. We'll say some proper goodbyes. Thank you to everybody for being here for complete coverage of the Democrat National Convention from Chicago, Illinois. We will see you this Saturday morning at 12 noon. Goodbye, everybody.